Chapter 2065. The 9 sword rays slash down, and the 9 divine arts of the 9 sects press down. The 9 young cultivators of the celestial court stepped into the middle of the wilderness, and their spirit, chi, and spirit were all extremely powerful. They were like 9 furnaces, and wherever they stood, the air would sizzle. This, the 2nd to 10th son of God of the celestial court, are also here? Are they going to attack the reincarnation body together? The cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland were all shocked. In the distance, White Tiger and Primal's expressions changed as well. They were infuriated, but they didn't make a move because they were still only at the Saint Realm. Even if they were infuriated, they couldn't do anything to help Lin Tian. They couldn't charge out at this moment because they would only bring trouble to Lin Tian and become a burden to him. Moreover, they had talked to Lin Tianjiao before coming here. They had guessed that Shinwuk couldn't be the only young paragon in the Sky Court. There must be other young experts in this place. Therefore, although they were very angry at this scene, they weren't surprised at all. In the middle of the Nirvana wasteland, Lin Tian faced the 9 people's attacks. He temporarily stopped his attack on Shinwuk and moved a few hundred feet away to avoid the 9 people's attacks. Are you also the young supreme beings of the celestial court? A bunch of trash. He looked at the 9 people and said calmly. The 9 young men of the celestial court looked at him coldly. Lin Tian's words were calm, but they were full of sarcasm. Reincarnation body, you are too arrogant. One of them said coldly. They could be ranked in the top 10 of the young generation of the celestial court. Each of them was extremely powerful. They could be considered the top 10 of the young generation of the heaven domain. However, they were called trash by Lin Tian. This made them feel extremely uncomfortable. Arrogant? I'm just stating a fact. Lin Tian spoke, still extremely calm. He swept his eyes over Shinwuk, who was saved by the 9 young supreme beings from the celestial court, saying, one-on-one. Even though your cultivation levels are much higher than mine, you still are my opponent. I don't have confidence, so I already planned to have all 10 of you come at me together. However, even if the 10 of you attack together, you'll still be nothing more than clay chickens and pottery dogs. You'll still lose miserably. As he spoke, he moved again. He took a simple step forward and walked toward the 10 people. The Tai Chi divine domain circled around his body. He was like a divine spirit walking between heaven and earth. His entire being exuded a transcendent aura. The eyes of the 9 young men from the celestial court grew even colder. Even more astonishing, saintly might intertwined around their bodies, making them very intimidating. No one has ever dared to speak to us like this, one of them said coldly. Then, all 9 of them moved. Their saint power surged like 9 ferocious primordial beasts as they charged towards Lin Tian. Shinwuk's face was ghastly pale. Purple runes intertwined all over his body as he healed his injuries. Then, he charged forward with the other 9 people. Now, he was very clear about his own situation. He was no match for Lin Tian one-on-one. He could only fight them together. This was because they were under the orders of the masters. Their ultimate goal was to capture Lin Tian and bring him back. They could not afford to make any mistakes. Boom! The 10 of them moved together. 10 monstrous waves of saint power intertwined, causing the entire Nirvana wasteland to shake violently once again. It was as if a huge earthquake had occurred in this place. It was as if everything was about to collapse. This really attacked the reincarnated body together. In the Nirvana wasteland, the group of cultivators could not help but tremble. The 10 most powerful deities of the celestial court were all at the peak of the Sage King realm. Now, they were actually attacking one person together. Their auras, they're all so powerful. Many cultivators were shocked. They could feel that the auras of the 2nd to 10th deity of the celestial court were not much weaker than that of the 1st deity, Shinwuk. They were only a hair's breadth away. Crack! 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 Crisp sounds could be heard. In the Nirvana wasteland, the void was constantly cracking because of the auras of the 10 deities of the celestial court. The 10 of them worked together, and their killing power was terrifying. They attacked Lin Tian from 10 different directions, completely sealing off the surrounding space. They did not give Lin Tian any space to dodge. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent. The 10 of them were all extraordinary, and their spirits were imposing. However, his expression did not change in the slightest as he faced their attacks. You guys can't do it. With the Tai Chi divine territory protecting his body, he took a simple step forward and blocked off all the superpowers and secret skills that the 10 of them were using. His steps were as illusory as Tao. In a flash, he appeared beside the third deity of the celestial court and punched him. The third deity of the celestial court was shocked by Lin Tian's speed. His eyes narrowed, and he quickly retreated. However, Lin Tian's speed was very fast, and so was his punch. It was a simple punch, but it seemed to break through the limits of space and landed on the third deity of the celestial court in the blink of an eye. Bam! With a muffled groan, the third deity of the celestial court was sent flying a few hundred feet away. Bright red blood splattered in the void. Lin Tian's expression was very calm. His steps were simple, but it was as if he was walking on Tao marks. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from where he was and appeared beside the seventh deity of the celestial court. Without any complicated movements, he threw out a palm and destroyed the saint light outside the seventh deity's body. It landed on his face. Slap! The sound of a slap was heard. The seventh deity of the celestial court was sent flying. Teeth mixed with blood floated in the void. It was a shocking sight. Such a scene caused all the cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland to involuntarily tremble. 10 god princes of the heavenly court had attacked together, but now 2 of them were sent flying in the blink of an eye. Among them, the 7th god prince was even slapped in the face. At the same time, the faces of Xin Wuk and the other 7 deities of the celestial court became very ugly. Use all your strength. Don't hold back. The second deity of the celestial court said in a low voice. However, just as he finished speaking, Lin Tian's figure appeared beside him. You bam! Lin Tian threw out a punch. It was simple and direct. It landed on the face of the second deity of the celestial court, shattering half of his face. Then, he used the Tai Chi godly domain to protect his body and continued to move forward. His speed gradually increased. He appeared in front of the other 7 deities of the celestial court one after another. He threw out a simple punch and punched each of them. This made all the cultivators in the Nirvana wilderness tremble violently. Many of them could not help but tremble. The 10 deities of the celestial court attacked together, but they were all sent flying by Lin Tian in the blink of an eye. This matter was too frightening. Even the white tiger and the little Tai Chi were shocked. Their eyes widened. The Tai Chi godly domain that this kid has comprehended is so powerful. He actually disintegrated the combined forces of the 10 deities so easily. The white tiger was shocked. Chapter 2066. In the Nirvana wasteland, the 10 shensis of the celestial court were all sent flying in the blink of an eye, shocking all the cultivators in the wasteland. With Shun Wuk as the leader, the 10 most powerful shensis of the celestial court steadied themselves and looked at Lin Tian with ashen faces. Just now, they all saw how powerful Lin Tian was, but they didn't think that Lin Tian could stop the 10 of them by himself. But now, when they really started fighting, the result of the battle was hard for them to accept. They were all injured in the blink of an eye. And Lin Tiandao's "you guys can't do it" made them feel even more humiliated. They were the 10 most powerful people of the younger generation of the celestial court. They could be said to be the 10 most powerful young supreme beings in the heaven domain. But now, they were called "you guys can't do it" by someone whose cultivation level was lower than theirs by 7 small levels. Use your full strength. Xin Wuk gritted his teeth. The 10 of them stood together at this time, and each of them pushed their saint power to the limit. With Xin Wuk, who had mastered the Demon Slayer ancient skill, as the leader, the violent saint power completely froze the space around them. The destructive waves were extremely dense at this time. Attack! The second shensi of the celestial court said coldly. The 10 of them worked together and moved again. They were like 10 ferocious beasts that pressed down on Lin Tian. For a moment, the sky shook violently as if it was going to collapse in the next moment. Lin Tian stood in the void and faced the full force of the 10 of them. Even with the newly comprehended Tai, chi, godly domain protecting his body, the pressure still rose. There was even the threat of death. The 10 of them really used their full strength. It was really terrifying. However, the expression on his face didn't change at all. It was still indifferent, but his eyes were deeper. "You guys can't do anything to me," he said coldly. Even though he faced the full force of the 10 of them and felt the threat of death, he was still very confident. He stepped forward, the Tai Chi, godly domain, protecting his body. His fists and palms worked together as he waved them one after another. Boom! 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 The intense battle caused the void to rumble continuously. It was as if it was going to collapse in the next moment. The scene was terrifying. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. Even though he had the protection of the Taiji divine domain, he was still sent flying by the combined attacks of the 10 people. Blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. However, as he was sent flying, his fist also landed on the 5th divine child of the celestial court. The power of the fist did not seem to be fierce, but in fact, its power was extremely terrifying. It sent the 5th divine child flying, causing him to spit out large mouthfuls of blood before exploding in the void. Damn it! This person reformed his physical body and looked at Lin Tian with an ashen face. The murderous intent in his eyes grew colder. Lin Tian steadied himself. Saint power swirled around his Taiji domain, and the blood at the corner of his mouth evaporated in the blink of an eye. Again, his voice was calm and indifferent. He took the initiative to attack the 10 people and stepped forward. The Taiji divine domain was surrounded by the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. It was mixed with the yin-yang aura in a special vast aura, causing his steps to become very ethereal. He threw out a simple punch, causing fist shadows to fill the sky. He attacked the 10 divine children of the celestial court at the same time. The 10 divine children of the celestial court, led by Shenwuk, attacked with all their might. They used different divine techniques one after another. In the blink of an eye, the center of the Nirvana wasteland turned into the core of destruction. Waves of destructive aura spread out. Lin Tian circled around the Taiji divine domain and fought the 10 people at the same time. While using the Taiji divine domain to protect himself, he also used divine techniques, such as the Ling Tian sword manual and the 4-symbol seal. They coordinated their attacks and continuously perfected the Taiji divine domain. For a moment, 11 figures clashed in the center of the Nirvana wasteland. The intense battle caused the void to crack. Blood splashed in the void. There was blood from the 10 divine children of the celestial court, as well as Lin Tian's blood. In the blink of an eye, the battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. After 3 days and 3 nights of battle, whether it was Lin Tian, Shenwuk, or the rest of the 10, they had all used up a lot of their energy. Their faces were pale, and the divine light outside their bodies had also become much weaker. It was also at this time that Lin Tian appeared beside the 3rd divine child of the celestial court. He once again held up the divine path reincarnation diagram. Die! His voice was cold. The Taiji divine domain protected his body, and the divine path reincarnation diagram pressed down mercilessly. In the blink of an eye, the divine path reincarnation diagram crushed all the divine light that the 3rd divine child of the celestial court had created. It landed directly on his body. With a poof, the 3rd divine child of the celestial court exploded. Only his divine soul was barely preserved, and he retreated pathetically. "I told you earlier. Die," Lin Tianling said. He held the divine transformation talisman in his hand and slapped down. The 3rd divine child of the celestial court's divine soul trembled. He could feel how terrifying the divine transformation talisman in Lin Tian's hand was. He couldn't help but yell, "Stop!" But how could Lin Tian stop? The divine transformation talisman pressed down even faster, landing directly on the 3rd divine child's divine soul. No! The 3rd divine child of the celestial court roared with unwillingness and desperation. The next moment, his divine soul cracked and was destroyed by the divine transformation talisman. Instantly, many cultivators in the Nirvana wilderness couldn't help but tremble. After 3 days of intense battle, 1 against 10. Lin Tian had mercilessly killed the third divine child of the celestial court. Good, good, good. Brat, well done. The white tiger shouted excitedly. Yeah. The little Taichu waved its little paws in the air, cheering for Lin Tian. Shenwuk and the others' faces turned extremely ugly. The 10 of them had attacked Lin Tian together, but now one of them had been killed by Lin Tian. I already said that you guys can't do it, Lin Tian said coldly. Looking at Shenwuk and the others, he moved again. The Tai Chi divine domain protected his body, and the divine path reincarnation diagram pressed down again. He used the Tai Chi divine domain to isolate all of the 9 people's skills and powers, and used the divine path reincarnation diagram to attack. Their coordination was perfect. Divine light intertwined around the bodies of Shenwuk and the others. They faced Lin Tian and attacked together, each of them using a powerful divine skill. Reincarnation body, don't be so smug. You won't be able to last long. Even if you kill 5 or 6 of us in the end, you'll still be suppressed in the end. No matter how strong you are, your divine power is limited. You can't stop all of us. The second divine child of the celestial court said coldly. His divine power was boundless, like a rolling sea, pressing down on Lin Tian. You think too much. There's only one ending, and that's you all being destroyed. Lin Tian replied coldly. The Tai Chi divine domain protected his body, and the divine path reincarnation diagram vibrated, collapsing all of the killing power. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the second divine child of the celestial court. The second divine child of the celestial court was shocked. Lin Tian was too fast, and the aura of the divine path reincarnation diagram was too strong. He didn't dare to face it alone, so he quickly retreated and dodged. Don't retreat. Die. Lin Tian said coldly. The Tai Chi divine domain protected his body, and his speed suddenly increased. In an instant, he blocked his opponent's path of retreat, and the divine path reincarnation diagram pressed down mercilessly. Moreover, at this time, the divine path reincarnation diagram he used was even more powerful than before. Its aura was incomparably terrifying. Facing this even more terrifying divine path reincarnation diagram pressing down, the second divine child of the celestial court was shocked. You poof. Chapter 2067. The second son of God of the celestial court was also, this combat power is really, after the third son of God of the celestial court, the second son of God of the celestial court was also killed by Lin Tian. The cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland couldn't help but tremble. Their eyes were filled with shock. Out of the 10 sons of God of the celestial court, only Shenwuk and the other 7 were left. Their expressions became even more ghastly as they clenched their fists. In the blink of an eye, another one of them had been killed. Why have you all stopped? Aren't you the 10 most powerful people of your generation from the celestial court? Are you all afraid now? Lin Tian's voice rang out. With the Tai Chi divine domain protecting his body, he looked at Shenwuk and the other 7 and walked toward them. His attitude and words undoubtedly made Shenwuk and the other 8 sons of God of the celestial court turn cold. Reincarnation body, you're too arrogant, the 5th son of God of the celestial court said. Arrogant? Lin Tian said with disdain. How can I be compared to your celestial court? Dozens of sky-level heavenly lords came to steal my origin. Now, the 10 most powerful sons of God of the celestial court have joined forces to steal something that doesn't belong to you. Tell me, who's the arrogant one? The 5th son of God of the celestial court snorted. The reincarnation, origin, doesn't belong to you. Anyone in the world can take it. The celestial court will take it. My life, origin, doesn't belong to me. Anyone in the world can take it. Lin Tianling smiled. His eyes were merciless. In the next moment, he stepped forward and his speed skyrocketed. In an instant, he appeared in front of the 5th son of God of the celestial court. The 5th son of God of the celestial court was shocked and quickly retreated. However, Lin Tian was too fast. His eyes were cold as he activated the divine path reincarnation diagram again. At the same time, he also activated the 5 thunder sky shaking incantation. Streaks of black lightning intertwined, cooperating with the Tai Chi Dominion and the Divine Path reincarnation diagram to seal off all directions. They directly suppressed the fifth divine child of the celestial court. Sizzling sounds continued to be heard. The void in all directions collapsed at the first moment, and the destructive power surged violently. The fifth divine son of the celestial court trembled in the face of this terrifying, destructive power. He shouted, "Stop! Pooh!" The Divine Path reincarnation diagram and the Five Thunders heaven suppression spell combined with the attack of the Tai Chi divine domain were extremely powerful. They forcefully interrupted the fifth divine child of the celestial court and directly crushed him into pieces. Even his divine soul was annihilated. The attack was too fast, and it was completed in an instant. Shinwuk and the other 7 Shinsis of the celestial court did not even have time to help. In an instant, the remaining 7 Shinsis of the celestial court were extremely shocked and furious. Reincarnation body. Shinwuk clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. After killing the fifth divine son of the celestial court, he walked toward Shinwuk and the others. You people of the celestial court are arrogant and despotic. However, each and every one of you is useless. Buzz! The Divine Path reincarnation diagram spun above his head. Black lightning interwove outside his body, and the Tai Chi divine domain circled around him. At this moment, although his aura was much weaker, he still gave off the feeling that he was a deity, as if he could suppress everything. He stepped toward Shinwuk and the others, and he used the Divine Path reincarnation diagram and the black lightning to envelop all 7 of them. Kill! Shinwuk shouted coldly. The Demon Slayer ancient skill boiled. Streaks of Demon Slayer purple veins spread out, crazily pressing down on Lin Tian. At the same time, the other 6 Shinsis of the celestial court also used various great skills. The Divine Path laws interwove, and they worked together with Shinwuk to attack Lin Tian. Boom! 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 The 8 of them fought fiercely, and the sky was filled with destructive light. At this moment, Lin Tian's saint power was almost depleted. He was facing Shinwuk and the others at the same time, and the pressure was immense. However, his expression did not change. The Tai Chi divine domain was indestructible. The Divine Path reincarnation diagram was powerful, and the 5 Thunder Sky Shock technique was ferocious. He was not at a disadvantage at all. In the blink of an eye, another 6 hours passed. After 6 hours, Lin Tian seized a short gap and used the Tai Chi divine domain to protect his body. He endured the ferocious attacks from Shinwuk and the others, and pressed the Divine Path reincarnation diagram directly onto the body of the 6th Shinsi of the celestial court. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere. The 6th Shinsi of the celestial court could not withstand the attack, and his body and soul were instantly destroyed. 6 left. Lin Tian spat out blood. The light of the Tai Chi divine domain dimmed significantly, but his eyes were still cold. You, Shinwuk, and the others looked terrible, and they clenched their fists tightly. Out of the 10 Shinsi of the celestial court, 4 of them had died at the hands of Lin Tian. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He took a step forward, and his afterimages filled the sky as he attacked. Virum, with the Tai Chi divine domain protecting his body, the Divine Path reincarnation diagram was raised again. Together with the pitch-black thunderbolts, it completely enveloped Shinwuk and the others, and attacked them indiscriminately. Shinwuk and the others fought with all their might, and they attacked wildly. All kinds of grand techniques were used, and their auras were terrifying. The space around them collapsed bit by bit. Bam! With a muffled sound, Lin Tian was hit by the 6 at the same time. The Tai Chi divine domain did not shatter, but the powerful force spread through the Tai Chi divine domain, and he coughed up blood. However, his expression was still cold. At the same time, a punch landed between the 4th Shinsi of the celestial court's brows. Poof! The 4th Shinsi of the celestial court's head exploded, and his divine soul and consciousness were destroyed. After that, he did not stop. He formed a seal with one hand, and wisps of black thunderbolts surrounded his entire right hand. He waved his hand, and as if he was holding a whooshing divine blade, he slashed at the seventh Shensi of the celestial court. Tai Chi Thunderblade. His voice was cold, and his palm landed on the seventh Shensi of the celestial court's head. In an instant, the seventh Shensi of the celestial court was split in half by the fierce power of the five thunder sky-shocking incantation and the vast Tai Chi of Yin and Yang. Then his body exploded, and his divine soul was destroyed. Such a scene made the cultivators in the Nirvana wilderness tremble uncontrollably. Many people's scalps were numb. Of the 10 Shensi of the celestial court, only 4 are left, someone said in a trembling voice. Someone spoke with a trembling voice, and his face and eyes carried terror that was impossible to conceal. This is really an aura of invincibility. On the other side, the white tiger and the little Taichu were a little excited. What a freak! The white tiger clenched his claws. The 10 Shensi of the celestial court were all at the peak of the Sage King realm. They were almost the 10 strongest people of the same generation in the heaven realm. But now, Lin Tian had fought the 10 of them alone. After 3 days of fierce fighting, he had killed 6 of them. How terrifying was this battle record? It was really heaven-defying. Of the 10 Shensi of the celestial court, only Shinwuk, the 8th Shensi, the 9th Shensi, and the 10th Shensi were left. The 4 of them were surrounded by holy light, and they were much weaker than before. Their faces were extremely ugly, and they looked at Lin Tian with fear. Retreat first. Chapter 2068. They ran away? All the cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland were shocked. The 1st Shensi, Shinwuk, the 8th Shensi, the 9th Shensi, and the 10th Shensi had actually fled at this moment. This was simply unbelievable. Brainless Shen, weren't you the one who challenged us? In the end, the 10 of you ganged up on us, and now you're running away. You're a disgrace. The white tiger mocked them loudly. Shinwuk and the other 3 divine princes' faces darkened when they heard that. However, they did not stop and continued to run away. Now, the 4 of them were very clear about the current situation. With their strength, it was impossible for them to suppress Lin Tian even if they worked together. If this continued, they would all be killed by Lin Tian. At this time, retreating was the best choice. You can't run away. Lin Tian looked at the 4 of them running away. His eyes were cold, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. He took a step forward and chased after them. He used the Tai Chi domain to protect his body. His steps were ethereal and fast. In the blink of an eye, he stopped the 4 of them. Boom! Without any extra words or actions, he punched the 4 of them at the same time. This time, his punch was unusually domineering. It was like a meteorite falling from the sky. It was terrifying. Shinwuk and the others stopped. They had to fight back with all their might. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian and the 4 of them were fighting again. Rumbling sounds could be heard as the void in this area continued to shatter. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. Black lightning circled around Lin Tian's hand. He waved the Tai Chi Thunderblade again. It landed on the head of the 8th divine prince of the celestial court. With a poof, the man was smashed into pieces and his spiritual soul was destroyed. There are 3 of you left. None of you can escape. He looked at Shinwuk, the 9th and 10th divine princes. His expression was calm, and his voice was indifferent. Shinwuk, the 9th and 10th divine prince's faces were all pale. Let's fight it out with him. The 9th divine prince gritted his teeth. Kill! The 10th divine prince roared. The 2 of them both unleashed the most powerful divine abilities of their respective sex and charged towards Lin Tian together. Their eyes were filled with killing intent and fury. At the same time, Shinwuk made his move as well. He activated the Demon Slayer Ancient Skill to its fullest. The Demon Slayer Ancient Skill boiled in the sky. Lin Tian did not dodge. Instead, he faced the attack head-on. Using the Taiji godly domain to protect his body, he activated the 5 Thunders heaven-shaking incantation. Strand after strand of black lightning fell. Each strand contained an extremely domineering lightning power, as if it could destroy everything. Pooh! He used the Taiji divine domain to protect himself, and the power of the five thunder sky-shaking spell tore through the ninth divine child's defensive light screen. His fist, which was surrounded by black lightning, penetrated the ninth divine child's body. Then, the soul-destroying divine child's divine soul was immediately formed, enveloping the ninth divine child. Ah! A blood-curdling scream rang out. Under this attack, the ninth divine child was directly destroyed in body and soul. However, it was also at this time that Shinwuk and the 10th divine child's attacks landed on Lin Tian. Even with the protection of the Taiji divine domain, he was still sent flying. Blood gushed out of his mouth, and the light of the Taiji divine domain dimmed. However, his expression did not change. In the blink of an eye, he steadied himself and strode towards the two. Buzz! The divine path reincarnation diagram was held up by him. With lightning speed, it enveloped the 10th divine child of the celestial court. Divine, saintly, and boundless auras crushed towards the 10th divine child from different directions. This caused the 10th divine child to tremble. His eyes were filled with terror. He roared crazily and used all his techniques in an attempt to open up the divine path reincarnation diagram. However, it was useless. No! After a few breaths, the 10th divine child was annihilated in a blood-curdling scream that was mixed with despair and unwillingness. In an instant, Shinwuk was the only one left in the Nirvana wilderness out of the 10 divine children of the celestial court. It's your turn. Lin Tian had blood at the corner of his mouth. His Tai Chi domain could collapse at any moment. He looked at this person and walked towards him step by step. Shinwuk's expression was extremely ugly. At the same time, his eyes were filled with terror. He watched as Lin Tian walked towards him step by step. At this moment, he could not help but retreat. Then, in the next moment, he quickly retreated. He turned into a beam of light and rushed into the distance. He had chosen to escape once again. Whoosh! The sound of air breaking reverberated. In the blink of an eye, he had rushed far away. After several days of fierce battle, his initial arrogance had turned into fear. He was truly frightened by Lin Tian's battle prowess. Even though he had mastered and cultivated the Demon Slayer ancient technique, he could not stop Lin Tian. Moreover, the 10 most powerful people of the celestial court of this generation had attacked Lin Tian together. However, 9 of them had been killed. Lin Tian had cast a shadow in his heart at this moment. I told you earlier that your ending is death. Lin Tian's voice was cold. He blocked Shinwuk's path with one step. The divine path reincarnation diagram appeared once again. Mixed with the power of the 5 heaven-shaking thunders incantation, it mercilessly pressed down on Shinwuk. Shinwuk trembled violently. He roared madly and pushed the Demon Slayer ancient technique to the limit. More Demon Slayer power surged towards Lin Tian. However, Lin Tian had comprehended the Tai Chi domain. With the Tai Chi domain and the divine path reincarnation diagram, the Demon Slayer power could no longer be effective. It was directly repelled. Then, in the next moment, under Lin Tian's control, the divine path reincarnation diagram directly pressed down on Shinwuk's body. Ah! Blood and screams were heard. This time, Shinwuk could not block the divine path reincarnation diagram. He was directly crushed. Moreover, in his weakened state, his spiritual soul could not be preserved. It was also destroyed by the divine path reincarnation diagram. In an instant, the Nirvana wasteland became dead silent. The 10 most powerful divine princes of the celestial court are all dead. In the Nirvana wasteland, the crowd of cultivators could not help but tremble. The 10 divine princes of this generation of the celestial court vaguely represented the 10 most powerful young sovereigns of the Void Realm. But now, the 10 of them had joined forces to attack Lin Tian, but they had all been killed. The reincarnation body. This is the most powerful body constitution in the world. This name is well-deserved. Jin, this is simply... Many people looked at Lin Tian. Their eyes could not help but flicker. With the cultivation of a second-tier Holy King, he had single-handedly killed 10 young sovereigns at the peak of the Holy King realm, 7 small steps away. What kind of combat power was this? This was truly heaven-defying. Kid, you're really sharp. The white tiger was excited. Beside him, the little Taichu was also excited. Lin Tian stood in the void. At this moment, the Tai Chi divine domain shook and then collapsed. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. His aura was already very weak. After all, Shenwuk and the other divine princes were very terrifying. Although he had killed all of them, he had also been severely injured. Now his essence, chi, and spirit were almost at their lowest point. He took a deep breath and activated the Tai Chi Heart Sutra. Together with the nirvana of the sun, he began to regulate his breathing and heal his injured body. In this battle, he had comprehended the Tai Chi divine domain. However, the Tai Chi divine domain was only a superpower. It was not the core ancient sutra that he wanted to create. The core ancient sutra was the basic way of operating saint power that he would use to perform various techniques in the future. It was also the way of operating saint power when he was cultivating, regulating his breathing, and healing his injuries. It was different from simple superpowers. So now, when he was regulating his breathing and healing his injuries, he could only rely on the Sun Heart Sutra and the nirvana of the sun. As the Sun Heart Sutra and the nirvana of the sun were activated, a faint golden light and blood-red flames surrounded his body. His injured body began to slowly heal, and his essence, chi, and spirit began to strengthen. Boom! Suddenly, not far away, a shocking holy king aura rushed up. A large part of the void was directly shattered. Chapter 2069. A figure rushed out from the hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland and rushed toward Lin Tian. In an instant, all the cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland were shocked. Many people trembled. The person who rushed toward Lin Tian was dressed in black. His spirit was not as good as the 10 divine sons of the celestial court, but he was not far off. Obviously, this was a very powerful young supreme being that seems to be the divine son of the West Wind divine sect. Some cultivators recognized this person. Almost at the same time that the divine son of the West Wind rushed out, one figure after another rushed out from the hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland. They were all surrounded by divine king aura and rushed toward Lin Tian from different directions. That's the divine son of the Qingyin sect, the young master of the Baron sect, the saintess of the Taiyin sect. At this moment, there were too many cultivators rushing toward Lin Tian. There were more than 1,000 of them, and all of them were powerful young supreme beings. Many cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland recognized them, and these cultivators obviously knew why these young supreme beings rushed toward Lin Tian at this time. They wanted to take advantage of Lin Tian's weakness to seize the origin of reincarnation. Boom! After the 1,000-odd supreme beings, a young man with lightning wrapped around his body stepped out. He turned into a bolt of lightning and charged towards Lin Tian. He was clearly the last to move, but his speed was shockingly fast. In a flash, he passed by the 1,000-odd young supreme beings who moved first. He rushed to the forefront and pressed towards Lin Tian, the divine son of the Thunder Clan. Lei Ming! Many cultivators were shocked. The Thunder Clan inherited the Thunder bloodline. The power of the bloodline was similar to the Thunder God physique and was not much weaker than the Thunder God physique. In the heaven realm of the void, they were the strongest clan under the celestial court. There were 12 divine kings in the clan, and more than 10,000 years ago, there was a peerless genius in the Thunder Clan who suppressed all the people of the same generation in the heaven realm. With the Thunder bloodline, he created the Thunder Slash technique and could instantly cut down everything within 100 feet of him. No one in the same realm could avoid it. At that time, even in the celestial court, no one in the same generation could fight against him. He was the true #1 young supreme being in the heaven realm. This clan actually moved as well. This generation's divine child personally came, hiding here. He actually wants to seize reincarnation source as well. Many cultivators trembled in fear. Whoosh! 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 Air-piercing sounds rang out one after another as even more figures charged up. Without exception, all of them charged towards Lin Tian. In the blink of an eye, Over 2,000 figures had made their move. All of them had incomparably powerful essence, chi, and spirit intertwined around their bodies. Their cultivations were all at the peak of Saint King. These F***ers. White Tiger's eyes were filled with anger, but he was not surprised by this scene. He had long guessed that this would happen after Lin Tian defeated Shen Wuk and the others. Lin Tian stood in the void. His essence, chi, and spirit were very weak at this time. He was circulating the Sun Heart Sutra and the Sun's Nirvana technique. At this time, in his current state, he could not even withstand an ordinary Saint King in a normal battle. However, facing these two young supreme beings who were at the peak of Saint King, he did not panic at all. On the contrary, he smiled. His smile was a little cold. This expression was naturally seen by the group of young supreme beings who were rushing over. The Thunder Clan's divine child, who was at the front, could not help but frown. The other young supreme beings also had a slight change in their eyes. They felt that Lin Tian's smile was very strange. However, when these people saw that Lin Tian was covered in blood and felt that Lin Tian's essence, chi, and spirit were very weak at this time, they immediately stopped thinking about anything else and rushed toward Lin Tian at an even faster speed. Now that Lin Tian was severely injured and his essence, chi, and spirit were at their lowest, this was the best time to seize the reincarnation origin. If they missed this opportunity, it would be very difficult for them to seize the reincarnation origin again. If they missed this opportunity, it would be extremely difficult to seize the reincarnation origin again. After the battle between Lin Tian and Shen Wuk and the others, these people deeply understood how terrifying the reincarnation body was. They also knew how shocking the value of the reincarnation origin was. Now, their desire for the reincarnation origin was even more intense. Then, in the blink of an eye, this group of young supreme beings rushed to the center of the wilderness. They were less than 100 feet away from Lin Tian. It was also at this time that the smile on Lin Tian's face became wider. The coldness in his eyes was also thicker than before. "You are all very proactive," he sneered. Standing in the void, he circulated the Sun Heart Sutra and continued to heal his injuries. At the same time, his right hand moved slightly as numerous formation platforms that were formed from white crystals floated up into appearance. Every single formation platform was covered in dense formation markings that directly shattered at the instant they floated up into appearance. And the formation markings that were inscribed on them were instantly branded onto the sky above the rebirth wasteland, and it completely covered an area of 300 m with him as the center. In an instant, in the space within a radius of 1,000 feet, a destructive aura appeared. Tens of thousands of killing light pillars rushed into the sky. Each of them was as thick as an adult's arm, as if they were rays of destructive light of calamity. Crack! 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 The sound of shattering was endless. At this moment, the sturdy void of the heaven realm was like a piece of paper. Faced with this sudden scene, the 2,000 young supreme beings who were rushing toward Lin Tian immediately stopped in their tracks. Their expressions all changed. At the same time, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland were also shocked. He has so many killing array platforms on him? Hundreds of thousands of cultivators trembled. It was not only because Lin Tian suddenly took out so many killing array platforms, but also because the killing patterns that were imprinted on the void after the killing array platforms collapsed were too terrifying. It was as if they could annihilate a sacred master. At this moment, even though the killing patterns only enveloped a radius of 300 meters with Lin Tian at the center, the killing intent caused hundreds of thousands of cultivators to be horrified. Many people continuously retreated as their calves could not help but tremble. In another position, the White Tiger and the Little Taichu were together. They were not surprised by this scene at all. A group of people who are courting death. The White Tiger stared at the 2,000 young supreme beings within 100 feet of Lin Tian and sneered. Boom! In the middle of the Nirvana wasteland, the killing patterns were imprinted on the void. They drew all the spiritual energy in the surrounding space and even absorbed the power of the earth veins. All of them turned into killing lights. Every one of them was extremely terrifying and seemed to be able to destroy everything. The aura of destruction was extremely terrifying. Faced with such a destructive aura, the 2,000 young supreme beings looked terrible. Then, all of them retreated. However, after they retreated for a distance, they were shocked again. The killing array interweaved into a terrifying enchantment and sealed them in the periphery. There was no way to retreat at all. You all rushed over to take away my life force origin. Now I am standing right here. Why are you retreating? Lin Tian said with a cold smile. Then, with a slight movement of his will, the great killing formation directly moved. Endless killing lights surged, as if there were numerous dragons of slaughter, launching an indiscriminate attack towards the two supreme beings, simultaneously hacking down on all of them. Ah, no! In the blink of an eye, screams were heard. Two young supreme beings were chopped into pieces. Their divine souls were also destroyed. Their bodies and souls were instantly destroyed. Chapter 2070. Billowing killing lights intertwined and shot up. In the blink of an eye, the two young supremes were smashed into pieces, their bodies and souls destroyed. Such a scene caused the cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland to tremble uncontrollably. Many of their faces turned pale. Rumble! The heavens shook and the earth trembled. At this moment, the killing lights intertwined in the middle of the Nirvana wasteland were too terrifying. The killing lights seemed to be able to destroy the world. The expressions of the 2,000 young supremes changed. As they dodged the terrifying killing lights, they activated their grand arts and bombarded the killing enchantment that enveloped the periphery. They wanted to break the enchantment and get out of the killing array. Don't waste your energy. With your strength, you won't be able to break it, Lin Tian said calmly. Before he had come to the Nirvana wasteland to fight Shenwuk, he had already expected that there would be other young sovereigns who were eyeing his source energy. Therefore, before he had come here, he had naturally made preparations. He had used the white crystals and precious treasures that he had obtained from the Thunder and Fire Fairyland as a foundation to carve out dozens of Tai Yin killing array platforms. The Tai Yin killing array was a wholly venerable grade killing array. It was similar to the white crystal jade that could carry the array patterns. He had found it in the dozens of inheritances of the Thunder and Fire Fairyland. With his Saint King grade cultivation and the Heavenly One soul art, it was easy for him to comprehend it. He had comprehended 70% of it in a few days and then carved dozens of such killing arrays on the white crystal jade. At this moment, he stood in the void. The Sun Heart Sutra and Sun's Nirvana skill were circulating rapidly. At the same time, he took out a few Baodan pills that could heal injuries quickly. Together, they allowed his essence, energy, and spirit to recover at a faster speed. He stood in the same spot and did not move. The Tai Yin killing arrays moved on their own accord, continuously producing terrifying killing lights. Although these dozens of Tai Yin killing formations were only 70% of the complete Tai Yin killing formation, the Tai Yin killing formation itself was a wholly venerate killing formation. Dozens of them together were enough to deal with these ordinary young supremes. Rumble! In the middle of the Nirvana wasteland, the void trembled continuously and the space collapsed. Dense streams of Tai Yin killing light enveloped the 2,000 young supremes indiscriminately. Every single one of them was powerful and intimidating, causing all the young supremes to fall into a predicament. Ah! In the blink of an eye, a blood-curdling scream rang out. Another young supreme being was enveloped by several dozen rays of extreme flame-killing light, and his body and soul were directly extinguished. The young supremes all had ugly expressions. They had never expected Lin Tian to have prepared something like this. At this moment, all of them were using all their strength to erect defensive barriers to avoid the extreme flame-killing ray. However, the several dozen wholly venerable level extreme yin-killing formations only enveloped a radius of 1,000 feet. In this situation, every inch of space and every corner was filled with killing light that was extremely terrifying. It was very difficult to completely avoid them. In the blink of an eye, another 3 young supreme beings were chopped into pieces. Their divine souls were also annihilated by the boundless killing light. The group of young supreme beings were all in a sorry state. You knew we would make a move, so you deliberately prepared so many killing formations to trick us. Despicable. What a vicious heart. A young supreme being said angrily. Lin Tian looked at this person with disdain. This man's purpose in coming here was precisely for his samsara source energy, wanting to kill him and snatch it away. He took advantage of the fact that Qin Wentian was in a weakened state to lunge at him. Now that he was suppressed by Qin Wentian's tens of killing formations, he actually dared to say such words, saying that Qin Wentian was despicable and vicious. Disgusting thing. He waved his hand and controlled the dozens of extreme yin killing formations with his mind. A total of 10,000 rays of extreme yin killing light pressed down on this person. This young supreme being immediately revealed a look of horror. He used all his strength to resist, but he could not block it at all. Ah! With a shrill scream, this person exploded, and his divine soul was also annihilated. Today, all of you will die here. In the future, when my strength reaches the level where I can destroy the inheritances of your sex, I will visit them one by one and uproot them one by one. He said calmly. When these words came out, the paragons from more than 2,000 years ago were moved again. You insolent, a young supreme being said angrily. Now that Lin Tian had suppressed them with dozens of killing formations, he actually said that he would kill all of them. Then, he would even destroy the sex that they belonged to. Lin Tian glanced at this person. Insolent? I can't compare to you, who brazenly came to steal my life origin. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand, and another 10,000 rays of extreme, yin-killing light fell, enveloping this young supreme being. No! At this moment, the young supreme being who spoke exploded in an instant, and his divine soul disappeared together with him. Let's attack together. Suppress him and control him to use the technique. These killing formations will naturally lose their effect. That's right. Kill. Some of the young supreme beings had fierce looks on their faces. At this moment, more than 100 people pounced at Lin Tian. Good idea, but very naive. Lin Tianling smiled. At this time, with the combination of the Sun Heart Sutra, the Sun's Nirvana technique, and the healing Bao Dan, his saint power had already recovered by 30%. Seeing that more than 100 people were pouncing at him, he also activated the Heavenly One Soul technique, controlling dozens of killing formations, and attacked these people together. With a rumble, this place seemed like the sky was about to collapse. The ground trembled and cracked. Endless rays of extreme yin killing light crazily pressed down on the hundreds of young supreme beings who were rushing over, like a wave of killing. Ah! Screams rang out in an instant. Under such an unparalleled wave of extreme yin-killing light, in the blink of an eye, 21 weaker young supreme beings exploded. Their divine souls struggled for a moment, and then they were annihilated in the flood of killing light. All of them ended up with their bodies and souls destroyed. In the Nirvana wasteland outside the killing formation, the group of cultivators couldn't help but tremble. How long had it been? In almost the blink of an eye, 29 famous young supreme beings were killed. Beautifully killed, the white tiger roared excitedly. These people pounced on Lin Tian, wanting to kill Lin Tian and seize the origin of reincarnation. At this time, they were surrounded by dozens of killing formations, and dozens of people were killed in the blink of an eye. This made the white tiger feel very happy and relieved. Boom! In the middle of the Nirvana wasteland, the killing light was vast and mighty. It couldn't stop surging, shaking the void until it constantly shattered and collapsed. The dense killing light interweaved in the middle of the wasteland. The scene was very terrifying, and the destructive aura was so dense that it was somewhat terrifying. Bloody mist continuously exploded, rushing towards Lin Tian, wishing to suppress the 100 or so young supreme beings who controlled Lin Tian's killing formation. However, they were hacked to pieces one after another by the killing radiance, difficult for their souls to remain intact as well. In just a few dozen breaths of time, they were all wiped out, This made the cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. How long had it been? More than 100 young supreme beings died, just like that. The day of the young supreme being's death. Chapter 2071. Dense killing lights intertwined in the center of the Nirvana wasteland. In the blink of an eye, the death of a prime being more than 100 years ago shocked everyone. Lin Tian stood in the middle of the wasteland. Dozens of Tai Yin killing formations surrounded him, making him look like a killing formation. Those who want to take my origin will have to pay the price. His voice was calm. Rumble. Dozens of Tai Yin killing formations rolled and moved. Beams of killing lights slashed in all directions. The scene was extremely horrifying. Puff, puff, puff. Blood mist kept exploding. At this moment, the powerful young primes became weak and powerless. Under the sacred venerate killing formations, they were all in a sorry state. One by one, they were shattered by the Tai Yin killing lights and completely disappeared in this place. Reincarnation body, you're so cruel. Someone screamed in anger. The next moment, he was drowned by hundreds of Tai Yin killing lights, and his body and soul were directly destroyed. Nearby, the other young primes were all holding up a powerful defensive light screen and dodging the killing lights with difficulty. Lin Tian stood in the void and looked at these people indifferently. The Sun Heart Sutra and the Sun's Nirvana technique were quickly circulating. His essence, energy, and soul rose bit by bit, and his saint power was constantly recovering. At the same time, he diverted a part of his energy to control the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations. With the help of the Heavenly One Soul technique, he made the dozens of killing formations stronger. With a rumble, more and more terrifying killing lights interweaved, turning the space within a radius of 300 meters into a sea of killing intent. Even the air was being sliced apart with a sizzling sound. Ah, no! Screams mixed with fear and despair rang out one after another. The hundreds of thousands of cultivators outside the range of the killing formations could not help but feel their scalps go numb. This reincarnation body, he really wants to kill all the primes from more than 2,000 years ago. Many cultivators' voices could not help but tremble. Kill them all. These dogs are asking for death. The white tiger sneered. These people came one by one, wanting to kill Lin Tian and take Lin Tian's reincarnation body's origin. This naturally made it very uncomfortable. Squeak! The little Taichu waved its claws at the center of the wasteland, as if it was beating the young supreme beings in the air. It was also very dissatisfied with these people. Miserable cries continuously reverberated in the middle of the Nirvana wasteland. Bloody mist continuously exploded, appearing extremely eye-catching and enchanting. Lin Tian stood in the middle of the killing array, showing no mercy to these people. He controlled the killing array and slashed everyone in it. As he channeled the Sun Heart Sutra and the Sun's Nirvana art, his essence, energy, and spirit gradually recovered. More sane energy was produced, and the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations he controlled became even more terrifying, causing the group of young supremes to become more and more miserable. Half a day passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian's sane energy had completely recovered, and the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations had become even more terrifying. More than half of the 2,000 young supreme martial artists were killed, leaving only about 900 of them. More than half of the young paragons were outside the killing array. A group of cultivators trembled. The 900 young supreme martial artists who were still alive in the killing array were all very powerful among the young supreme beings. However, they were almost exhausted after enduring the dozens of killing arrays until now. Every one of them was covered in blood. Lin Tianling looked at these young supreme beings indifferently. The dozens of killing arrays were intertwined, and within a radius of 100 feet, rays of killing light seemed to surround him, making him look like a god who controlled the power of life and death. Continue, he said indifferently, channeling the divine One Soul art. With a wave of his hand, the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations shook and became even more terrifying. Unparalleled killing lights surged, rolling and boiling, majestically suppressing the group of young supreme beings who were still alive. The void was collapsing, and the ground was crumbling. It was as if the scene of the end of the world was playing out. Crack! Suddenly, an ear-piercing cracking sound was heard, and the entire Nirvana wasteland shook violently. Then, the ear-piercing cracking sound reverberated continuously, and the Nirvana wasteland shook even more violently. With the area covered by the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations as the center, frightening large cracks began to appear on the ground, and they sank rapidly. Boom! 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 A shockingly loud sound reverberated. As the ground split open, collapsed, and sunk, numerous terrifying light pillars abruptly shot up from beneath the Nirvana wasteland. Every single one of them was shockingly powerful, as if they could easily pierce through even a sovereign rank expert. With a sizzling sound, more than half of the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations that Lin Tianling had set up were directly destroyed by the light pillars. At the same time, more light pillars rushed out from the ground, as if a heaven mastery expert was attacking from the bottom of the wasteland. In the Nirvana wasteland, hundreds of thousands of cultivators were shocked. This scene came too suddenly. Under the ground, there was actually such a terrifying pillar of light that suddenly rushed out. At the same time, within 1,000 feet of the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations, Lin Tianling and the other young Supremes naturally changed their expressions immediately. There's something below? Lin Tianling was shocked. At this moment, he moved, interweaving into afterimages, and dodged the light pillars that rushed out from the ground. These light pillars that rushed out from the ground did not contain any destructive or murderous aura, but they were extremely terrifying, and even someone as strong as him felt threatened. Ah! A mournful scream rang out. An extremely powerful young Supremes was brushed by a light pillar that rushed out from the ground and instantly shattered, turning into ashes. This caused Lin Tianling's pupils to constrict. Just by being brushed by the light pillar, a powerful young Supremes turned into ashes. It was more than 100 times more terrifying than the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations that he had engraved. Boom! At this moment, the Nirvana wasteland continued to collapse. More and more light pillars rushed out, and each of them was as thick as a bucket. Each of them was extremely terrifying, and they caused Lin Tianling's dozens of Tai Yin killing formations to collapse in the blink of an eye. The group of young Supremes who were originally enveloped by the Tai Yin killing formations were both shocked and delighted at this moment. They were shocked that such terrifying light pillars would rush out from the wasteland, and they were delighted that the dozens of killing formations that Lin Tianling had set up were all destroyed at this moment, and they were no longer threatened by the dozens of killing formations. However, although they were no longer threatened by the dozens of Tai Yin killing formations, the light pillars that rushed out from the ground were even more terrifying. Each of them quickly dodged, and they did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. Lin Tianling's current sane energy had completely recovered, and his speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had retreated far away, and he was about 1,000 feet away from the center of the Nirvana wasteland. He stood there and looked towards the center. There, even more terrifying light pillars rushed out, and the wasteland's ground continued to collapse and sink, sputtering sand and dust. Chapter 2072. Lin Tian's expression involuntarily changed as he looked at the ground. Grayish mist interweaved below. Although it was very hazy, he was still able to see many small mountain ranges. There was actually a huge space below this ground. Boom, 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 boom. Pillars of light continuously rushed up from the ground, and the surface of the wasteland continued to collapse. In the middle of the wasteland, the more than 900 young supreme martial artists who were still alive all hurriedly dodged and retreated from the center of the wasteland. At this time, the pillars of light that rushed up from the ground in the middle of the wasteland were really too terrifying. For a moment, swishing sounds could be heard, and the more than 900 young supreme martial artists all flashed out of the middle of the wasteland in the blink of an eye. It was also at this time that the terrifying pillars of light no longer rushed up from the ground, and the center of the wasteland collapsed. Plumes of smoke and dust floated in the air, and a huge hole with a diameter of 300 feet appeared in the middle of the wasteland, leading straight to the ground. At this time, the outlines of the mountain ranges below became clearer, and many cultivators could see them. There's actually a mountain range below? Many cultivators were shocked. It was also at this time that under the ground, in the gray mist, a blood-red light suddenly flashed, faintly shining, accompanied by a very majestic burning, saint energy. For a moment, many cultivators were moved again. What a strong energy fluctuation! Then could that be? Legend has it that back then, this wasn't a wasteland, but a continuous interweaving mountain range. A godly phoenix was reborn here, and its saint energy was endless. It seemed to be breaking through to the heavenly arrival realm. In the end, it attracted some people with bad intentions, who wanted to take advantage of its transformation to seize its fruit of Tao, causing a shocking battle to break out here. Even the terrain was changed in the end. Could it be that the battlefield below, that blood-red light with burning saint energy, could it be related to that godly phoenix? Many cultivators stared at the scene below. Lin Tian was also moved. He had naturally seen the blood-red light that had flashed underground and felt the scorching saint energy. At the same time, he also knew about the legend of this place. For a moment, his eyes couldn't help but narrow. He had the same thought as many other cultivators. Is it really related to the divine phoenix that underwent nirvana here? Two whooshing sounds could be heard as the white tiger and little Taichu flashed over and appeared beside him. That blood-red light is definitely a precious treasure. Kid, let's hurry down and get it. The white tiger's eyes lit up. When Lin Tian destroyed the inheritances of the Thunder and Fire Fairyland, it had read many ancient books and knew about this place. There's no rush. Let's take a look first. There seems to be a very thick death aura below. If we go down rashly, we'll be corroded by that death aura. Lin Tian and little Taichu. He had cultivated the Delusion Breaker Divine Eye and had opened the Divine Eye that could mobilize Qi twice in a row. Under normal circumstances, his eyesight was very shocking and could see through many things. At this time, even though he didn't feel a very thick death aura below, he could vaguely see a black fog gathered below like a rolling ocean. With his knowledge, he naturally knew that the black fog below was definitely the death aura. On the Nirvana wasteland, hundreds of thousands of cultivators were all looking underground with bright eyes. It can't be wrong. That blood-red light is definitely related to that godly phoenix. Rumor has it that the godly emperor and those who came to seize the godly phoenix's Nirvana Dao fruit all disappeared in this place. That blood-red light, maybe it's the solidified Dao fruit left behind by the godly phoenix after its death. It's comparable to a super heaven-defying treasure. Some cultivators clenched their fists. Then almost in the next moment, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard. Some cultivators in the wasteland directly rushed underground. Then, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard continuously. One figure after another rushed underground. In the blink of an eye, there were more than 1,000 people rushing underground. Obviously, they were all eyeing the thing that was emitting the blood-red light and scorching saint energy. However, in the next moment, the moment these people rushed into the ground shook violently. The pitch-black fog rushed up like a volcanic eruption, mixed with an extremely terrifying aura of death, annihilating everything. The 1,000 cultivators who rushed in were not weak. The weakest was at the godly emperor realm, and the strongest was at the sage realm. However, after being submerged by the black fog, they all turned into a pool of pus and blood in the blink of an eye. For a moment, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the Nirvana wasteland were shocked by this scene. Many of them couldn't help but tremble. There's really death aura, and it's so thick. The white tiger's pupils shrank. Just now, Lin Tian mentioned that there might be death aura underground. It didn't expect it to really exist, and it was so terrifying. It guessed that even a peak Saint Venerable could be directly melted by this level of death aura. Back then, that godly phoenix was reborn here, and people came to steal its fruit. Those who died here were at least at the Void Sky realm, and there were many of them. After so many years, it's normal for there to be such a thick death aura. Lin Tiandao said that the stronger the existence, the stronger and more terrifying the death aura intertwined after death. Then, doesn't that mean we can't go down? The White Tiger said. This death aura was too terrifying. It felt that even if Lin Tian supported the Tai Chi divine domain, he wouldn't be able to resist it. That's not necessarily the case. Lin Tiandao said, this death aura was originally gathered underground. Now that someone has intruded, the clash of life and death caused the death aura below to surge out. Although this death aura is terrifying, it's limited. At most, after 2 or 3 days, the death aura will become very faint. At that time, even a great Tao realm cultivator won't be affected if he goes down. Boom! Boom! Below the Nirvana wasteland, the death aura constantly rushed out. It was extremely terrifying, corroding the air with sizzling sounds. No cultivator dared to approach the center of the Nirvana wasteland. Then, as the deathly aura continued to surge up from the ground, the sky of this place was dyed black. Just like that, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. 3 days later, the death aura under the wasteland had almost completely rushed out, and there was no longer any sense of threat. All right, we can go down now. A cultivator couldn't help but shout. Then, a large number of cultivators rushed underground. In the blink of an eye, over 10,000 cultivators stepped into the underground. It was suspected that the materialized Tao fruit of the divine phoenix was below. Even a void sky realm cultivator would be moved. These cultivators naturally couldn't resist the temptation of such a Tao fruit. Once they obtained it, their strength would definitely increase greatly in a short time. Kid, let's go down too. There shouldn't be any problems now. The White Tiger clenched its claws tightly. Lin Tian nodded. At this time, the terrifying death aura underground had almost completely dissipated. It was indeed no longer a threat to them. Let's go. Immediately, he called the White Tiger and Little Tai Chu. In a flash, they rushed into the underground, disappearing into the ground in the blink of an eye. After about 10 breaths, the White Tiger, and Little Tai Chu landed in the underground world and stepped on the surface of the underground world. This is Chapter 2073. The surging aura of death rose from the ground. Normally speaking, the underground world should be barren. However, when Lin Tian led the White Tiger and Little Tai Chu into the underground world, they discovered that there were immortal mountains connected to each other. Every mountain was covered in green plants, and they were not corroded by the aura of death floating in the air. This is really contradictory. The White Tiger stared at him. The underground world was shrouded in the aura of death, but there were mountains full of green plants. This was too strange. Speaking of which, since there are so many green plants here, and they are full of life, why didn't the aura of death erupt before? Why did it suddenly erupt when cultivators entered 3 days ago? It asked curiously. Lin Tian thought for a moment and said, it should be similar to the space left behind by the human king. These plants with life aura have existed in this space since the beginning. The aura of death that was born in this space later had already adapted to these plants during the process of its birth. Moreover, the aura of life emitted by these plants is far less dense than that of powerful cultivators. Therefore, their existence did not cause the aura of death in this space to erupt. That seems to make sense. The White Tiger thought for a moment and nodded. At this moment, the sound of air being torn apart could be heard continuously. One cultivator after another stepped into the underground world. Lin Tian looked towards the depths of the underground space and called the White Tiger and Little Tai Chu over. Previously, there was a faint flash of blood-red light. It was roughly in that direction. It was also at this moment that an extremely powerful saint energy surged from the underground, causing the man and the 2 beasts to be uncontrollably shocked. Ruler, There's a ruler powerhouse coming. The white tiger was slightly shocked. It should be because the aura of death that surged from this place was too dense. Moreover, the scorching saint energy was also very shocking. It caused some nearby ruler powerhouses to sense it and rush here at this time. Lin Tian on Dao. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, 9 figures stepped into the ground, all of them exuding the might of a sovereign. The 9 of them stepped into the ground, not paying attention to their surroundings at all. Their gazes were fixed on the depths of this underground world. Then, they turned into 9 rays of light and directly rushed down. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed a great distance and disappeared from the vision of the man and the 2 beasts. The Dominator rank expert has come. Doesn't that mean we don't have a chance? The white tiger frowned. They had entered this underground world for the legendary divine phoenix Dao fruit. But now, a Dominator rank expert had appeared. There was no way they could contend against such an existence. Once they discovered the legendary divine phoenix Dao fruit, they would not have the ability to fight for it. Lin Tian frowned and said, "That's hard to say. Even if one's cultivation is strong, one might not necessarily be able to find that divine phoenix Dao fruit and obtain it." He paused for a moment, but didn't leave. Instead, he called out to the white tiger and little Taichu and continued to move, heading deeper into the forest. Since he had come here, he naturally had to try to find the divine phoenix Dao fruit. Perhaps he could find it. As for whether those Dominator rank experts would try to steal his origin, he wasn't worried. An old drunkard had already established his might. Now, even the older generation of the Celestial Court didn't dare to touch him, let alone ordinary Dominator rank experts. He and the white tiger and little Taichu headed deeper into the forest. Soon, they had traveled hundreds of meters. "Fellow cultivator, please wait." Suddenly, at this moment, a voice rang out from behind him. Lin Tian's expression changed, and he immediately stopped and looked behind him. An old man in a Taoist robe was looking at him with a smile. "You are?" He frowned, and at the same time became wary. Now his cultivation was at the second heaven of the Saint Ruler realm, and his divine instincts were extremely powerful. Even if a Saint Venerable expert approached him, he would be able to sense it immediately. However, this old Taoist appeared behind him, and he didn't sense it at all. Beside him, the white tiger and little Taichu were also shocked. At this moment, they were both surprised and vigilant. Like Lin Tian, they didn't sense when the old Taoist approached them at all. The old Taoist smiled and put his palms together, saying, "Immeasurable heavenly sovereign, my young friend, there's no need to be nervous. This old Taoist has no ill intentions. I just feel that this old Taoist has a great affinity with you. Why don't we be friends despite our age difference?" Friends despite our age difference? Lin Tianyi was stunned. The old Taoist still put his palms together and smiled, saying, "My young friend, you can't accept friendship despite our age difference?" Lin Tian shook his head and said, "That's not it. It's just that this seems to be the first time I've met you." He and the old hooligan could be considered friends despite their age difference, so naturally he could accept it. However, this was the first time he had met this old Taoist, and the old Taoist actually wanted to be friends despite their age difference. This made him a little confused. Since it's not that you can't accept it, then you can accept it. In that case, this old Taoist will take it that you agree. The old Taoist put his palms together and bowed slightly. Then, with a swoosh, he leaned to Lin Tian's side, and his eyes lit up, saying, "Good brother, this old Taoist is seriously injured. In front of our friendship, can you give this old Taoist some reincarnation origin to heal me?" Lin Tian, the white tiger, and little Taichu were all stunned when they heard this. This old man, the white tiger's eyes widened. After being stunned for a moment, Lin Tian could not help but grind his teeth. This old man wanted to be friends with him despite their age difference with a smile on his face, and thought that he had agreed. Then, he actually called him good brother and asked him to give him some reincarnation origin. It was obvious that he wanted the reincarnation origin from the beginning. "Get lost!" he scolded. At this time, although the old Taoist was eyeing his reincarnation origin, he did not reveal any coldness or killing intent. This was because the old Taoist was not like the other cultivators who wanted to seize his reincarnation origin. He only wanted him to give him some. Moreover, he could feel that the old Taoist was not hostile to him at all. He just felt that this old man was too wicked and shameless. He was even more wicked and shameless than those heartless old hooligans. He was not surprised that the old Taoist knew that he was a reincarnated being. Now, in this vast celestial void realm, there were probably not many people in the cultivation world who did not know that he was a reincarnated being. Immediately, he called out to the white tiger and little Taichu and went directly into the depths of this underground space. Hey, don't go, little friend. If friendship is useless, we can still exchange it in other ways. The old Taoist caught up with Lin Tian and said, I'm good at divination. Looking at your face, I can see that you will soon encounter a great disaster. I just happen to know a way to resolve it, so I'll use this method and our friendship to exchange for some reincarnation origin. What do you say? Lin Tian's face darkened. Get lost. Go back to where it's cool. Chapter 2074. Yeah, old man, go to where it's cool. Little Taichu mimicked Lin Tian's words and echoed. The white tiger rolled its eyes. It didn't say anything at this time, but it had the same thought as Lin Tian. Even Yin Yubur, who had an immortal spirit body and mastered the art of divination, couldn't calculate anything about Lin Tian. This old Taoist actually dared to say that he knew that Lin Tian would be in big trouble and that he knew how to solve it. How immoral! If they didn't have Yin Yubur, who had mastered the art of divination and had an immortal spirit body, they might have really believed this old Taoist. While it's cooler here, the old Taoist stepped forward and stood beside Lin Tian. Lin Tian, F***, veins almost popped out on his forehead. This old man was simply too shameless, without a bottom line. Beside them, the white tiger and little Taichu couldn't help but stare. Old man, you're amazing. The white tiger couldn't help but give a thumbs up. It was the first time it had seen such a shameless person. You flatter me, the old Taoist replied with a smile. He looked at Lin Tian and said earnestly, Young friend, everyone has their own fate. I'm really good at divination. I really do predict that you'll be in big trouble. You'd better believe it than not. I don't believe your nonsense. Lin Tian wanted to kick him. Then he ignored the old Taoist and called the white tiger and little Taichu to go into the depths of this space. Hey, young friend, slow down. Let's go together. The old Taoist followed. Young friend, you really don't want to consider this humble Taoist suggestion? You see, it's not a big deal if you give me some origin energy. Then you can exchange it for peace and prosperity. It's so profitable. Scram. Lin Tianji only said one word. After that, even if the old Taoist kept nagging at him, he ignored him. Soon, he brought the white tiger and the little Taichu far away. The old Taoist stuck close to them like a cowhide plaster. Boom! In front of him, the underground space suddenly shook violently. As far as the eye could see, in the depths of this underground space, a pitch-black wave of death soared into the sky, just like when someone first entered the underground space. It was extremely frightening. A figure that was at least 300 meters tall stood up from the depths, covered in death aura. His entire body was intertwined with death aura. For a time, the group couldn't help but be shocked. This 100-jong-tall figure was obviously not a living creature, but an undead spirit. The aura of death around its body was too shocking, and there was even a faint void heaven-grade aura lingering around it. Could it be the transformation of the void heaven rank expert who died in this space? The white tiger glared at him. Even Lin Tian was shocked, his pupils constricting. This undead spirit was too terrifying. It was absolutely impossible to fight against it. Even if it was a sovereign realm expert, it would be impossible to block it. Roar! The 100-jong-tall undead spirit roared, its voice shaking the sky. The aura of death around its body surged as it violently waved its arms. At the same time, within the surging aura of death, 9 figures were rapidly retreating, looking very miserable. It's the 9 sovereign realm experts who entered this underground space before. They lured the undead spirit out. Lin Tian's eyes flickered. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, a scream came from the depths of the underground space. Among the 9 sovereign realm experts, one of them was directly grabbed by the undead spirit. The undead spirit then bit him and swallowed him into its stomach, swallowing him along with his soul. So cruel. The white tiger trembled. Even someone as strong as Lin Tian couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. A sovereign realm expert was actually bitten to pieces and swallowed by the undead spirit. Roar! Another loud roar came from the 100 zhang tall, undead spirit. It was very ear-piercing, and the aura of death surged violently. The remaining 8 sovereign realm experts became even more miserable, fighting against the 100 zhang tall, undead spirit as they quickly retreated. At the same time, after the 100 zhang tall, undead spirit roared for the second time, the entire underground space suddenly shook as if an astonishing earthquake had occurred. The soil on the ground suddenly wriggled as if it had turned into sand. Then, groups of ghost soldiers emerged from the ground. Their numbers were so dense that it was a little frightening. In the blink of an eye, a dense group of ghost soldiers appeared around Lin Tian and the others. Their bodies were rotten, and the aura of death lingered around them. They were all formed by the pure aura of death. Every single one of them was comparable to a Saint King. Lin Tian couldn't help but frown at such a scene. There were at least 10,000 ghost soldiers in the space around them, and they were comparable to a Saint King. This was a little frightening. Even someone as strong as him would find it difficult to deal with such a group of Saint King-level ghost soldiers. The little Taichu shrunk its neck and shrunk its body. It jumped on a Lin Tian's head and hid in the hair. The white tiger trembled. At this time, it learned from the little Taichu and shrunk its body to hide in Lin Tian's hair. They were only saints now, and they couldn't fight against such a group of Saint King-level ghost soldiers. At this time, the group of ghost soldiers naturally stared at Lin Tian and the others. In an instant, all of them rushed forward. The aura of death surged violently as tens of thousands of Saint King-level ghost soldiers rushed forward together. The scene was very frightening. Lin Tian's face was solemn. He immediately supported the Tai Chi Divine Domain and then used the 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique to sweep in all directions. Puff! 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 Under the 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique, the ghost soldiers exploded one after another, turning into black pus and blood. At the same time, he glanced at the old Taoist priest, wanting to see the strength of the old Taoist priest who could silently approach him. He wanted to sense how strong the old Taoist priest's aura was through the ghost soldiers here. Then, he found that the old Taoist priest was just standing there. The ghost soldiers around him didn't attack at all, as if they didn't see him. This old guy. The white tiger naturally saw this scene. Something is wrong. The little Taichu couldn't help but widen its eyes. This scene was obviously unusual. Old guy, what did you do? Why didn't they attack you? Lin Tian asked directly. Immeasurable heavenly sovereign, I have the great righteousness. Evil spirits and monsters can't get close to me. The old Taoist priest put his palms together and rubbed his hands. Young friend, there are a lot of ghost soldiers. It will be difficult for you to deal with them alone. How about we make a deal? I will give you a bit of the great righteousness to prevent you from being disturbed by evil spirits, and you will give me a bit of the reincarnation origin to help me heal. Neither of us will lose. Get lost. Lin Tian scolded. This shameless old man was so shameless. He actually had the nerve to say that he had the great righteousness. Then he looked at the old man. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. Chapter 2075. While killing the Sage King-level Een soldiers in front of him, Lin Tian saw an oracle bone plate around the old Taoist's neck. It was about the size of an adult's thumb, and there was a strange light flowing around it. It was difficult for ordinary people to see this kind of strange light, but his eyesight was very unusual. It was even better than the sun eye and the moon eye. At this time, he saw this light, and this light seemed to be blocking something. Old man, that thing around your neck seems to be very unusual. "What is that?" he asked the old Taoist. Hearing this, the old Taoist's eyes widened, and he covered the oracle bone plate with a whoosh. "This is just an ordinary bone plate. Why are you covering an ordinary bone plate so tightly?" Lin Tiandao. As he spoke, he took a step forward and stepped next to the old Taoist. As he stepped toward the old Taoist, the sage king-level Yin soldiers in the surroundings moved together and pounced toward him. Naturally, because he stepped next to the old Taoist, these Yin soldiers pouncing on him would also implicate the old Taoist. Immeasurable heavenly sovereign, #Yin, the old Taoist immediately became anxious. Then, a large ray of light overflowed from the oracle bone plate in his hand, enveloping himself and Lin Tianyi. Suddenly, the sage king-level Yin soldiers pouncing from all directions seemed to have lost sight of Lin Tian. They all became sluggish and then pounced in other directions. It's really related to this thing. Not only can it completely eliminate one's aura, it can even make it difficult to capture a specific target's figure. A strange light flashed in Lin Tian's eyes. At the same time, he finally understood why the old Taoist could appear behind him without making a sound. The white tiger and little Taichu were also moved. As he spoke, their eyes fell on the oracle bone plate in the old Taoist's hand. "Speaking of which, what other uses does this thing have?" Lin Tian asked the old Taoist. "Nothing." The old Taoist shook his head like a rattle drum. He held the oracle bone plate tighter and looked at Lin Tian like he was guarding against a thief. "Nothing? I don't believe it." Lin Tian shook his head. Looking at the old Taoist's expression, he was very nervous. How could he believe that the oracle bone plate only had a small effect of concealing one's aura? He definitely had other truly extraordinary abilities. Moreover, the most important thing was that when he looked at the oracle bone fragment earlier, it was not only because of the glimmering light flowing on its surface that he was shocked. What truly shocked him was that the moment he saw the oracle bone fragment, he suddenly felt as if he was looking at a large universe. This strange feeling made his spirit tremble slightly. One had to know that he was now a Saint King, and his divine sense was extraordinary. Under normal circumstances, it was absolutely impossible for him to have such an illusion. What's more, this illusion had even caused his soul to tremble slightly. So how could he underestimate this bone plate? He looked at the old Taoist and paused for a moment. Then, he leaned over and hooked his arm around the old Taoist's neck as if they were old friends. He narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "Senior, look, aren't we old friends? Can you lend this thing to me? I'll just do some simple research." Scram! The old Taoist could not help but scold. He felt that Lin Tian was even more shameless than him. Previously, he clearly did not admit that they were old friends, but now he took the initiative to mention this matter. Using this to borrow the oracle bone fragment, he was obviously thinking about the oracle bone fragment. Lin Tian coughed dryly and paused for a moment before saying, "Senior, don't you need a bit of reincarnation origin to heal your injuries?" He said seriously, "For our friendship, I'll bear some losses and use a trace of origin to exchange for this oracle bone fragment." Scram! "I'm not exchanging." The old Taoist immediately glared at him. He felt that Lin Tian was really shameless. He was really thinking about his oracle bone fragment. At the same time, he was a little annoyed. He felt that Lin Tian's eyes were too sharp. Even those old antiques and living fossils could not see anything unusual about this thing. It was very important to him, but Lin Tian actually saw through its extraordinariness. Lin Tian's heart was moved again. Originally, he said that he would use a trace of reincarnation origin to exchange for the oracle bone fragment. He was just testing the old Taoist to see how important the oracle bone fragment was to the old Taoist. He did not expect that the old Taoist would not hesitate at all and directly reject him. One had to know that his origin was not simple. Even if it was only a trace, it had a very shocking value. Moreover, the old Taoist seemed to need it very much. However, under such circumstances, the old Taoist did not even think about it and rejected him. It really confirmed his guess. This oracle bone fragment was definitely very unusual. It was a super heaven-defying holy treasure. Above his head, the white tiger, and the little Taichu were also staring. At this time, they naturally felt that the oracle bone fragment was extraordinary. For this oracle bone fragment, the old Taoist did not hesitate to reject Lin Tian's proposal of exchanging a trace of reincarnation origin. Senior, you see, you really do need a trace of this junior's origin. Don't be polite. Let's exchange. Lin Tian hooked the old Taoist and said. At this time, he really wanted to use a trace of reincarnation origin to exchange for the oracle bone fragment with the old Taoist. After all, although taking out a trace of reincarnation origin would cost him some, the loss was not great. He believed that it was definitely worth it to exchange for the oracle bone fragment. Scram! The old Taoist gritted his teeth and cursed. Damn the immeasurable deity. You're not a good person. Lin Tian did not give up. He pulled the old Taoist and said with a smile, Senior, why don't you think about it again? I guarantee that you won't. As he spoke, he suddenly changed his expression and stopped what he was going to say. He suddenly tilted his head and looked towards the southeast. At the same time, the white tiger and the little Taichu above his head were also shocked. They also looked straight in that direction. The old Taoist's expression also changed. He looked straight towards the southeast. The fluctuation of the law of time and order. At this time, the old Taoist's eyes were filled with shock. There was even an extremely bright light intertwined in his eyes. The aura of the law of time and the aura of the power of order. No matter which of these two, it was enough to shake the world. However, at this time, he felt these two auras at the same time in this underground space. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Lin Tian took a step forward. At this time, he did not bother the old Taoist anymore and directly strode towards the southeast. In that position, he naturally felt the aura of the law of time and the fluctuation of the power of order. He was shocked. However, his shock was different from the old Taoists. He was shocked because his daughter, Ruoxian, controlled the law of time. Moreover, ever since she entered the Divine King realm, Ruoxian had been comprehending the power of order. Now that the aura of the law of time and order appeared at the same time, he could not help but be shocked. He immediately thought of Ruoxian. Is it my little niece? Isn't she in the ethereal mountain? Chapter 2076. No matter if it was Lin Tian, the white tiger, or the little Taichu, when they sensed the aura of the law of time and the fluctuation of the power of order, they immediately thought of Ruoxian. They were all surprised. Wasn't Ruoxian in the 10 Directions heaven domain? However, although they were surprised at this time, Lin Tian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu did not stop. They were very fast, heading straight towards the southeast of this underground space. The old Taoist priest's eyes were filled with shock. He was obviously very concerned about the aura of time and the power of order, so he followed them. Roar! In the underground space, because of the terrifying dead spirit in the depths, a dense group of Saint King-level Yin soldiers emerged from the ground. They were completely formed by Yin Qi. At this time, because Lin Tian had left the area covered by the light of the oracle bone fragment, many of the dead spirits discovered them and pounced on them. Lin Tian immediately held up the Tai Chi divine domain to protect himself. He activated the 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique and the pure yang flame intertwined together. The 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique was extremely yang flame. The pure yang flame was scorching hot and had an amazing suppressive effect on evil spirits. In the blink of an eye, dozens of Saint King-level Yin soldiers that pounced on them were shattered and turned back into Yin Qi. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, he led the white tiger and the little Taichu over dozens of celestial mountains. Roar! In front of them was a huge mountain valley. There were groups of Yin soldiers, all of whom were at the Saint King realm. A large number of cultivators were trapped in the mountain valley. All of them had looks of horror on their faces. At the same time, their faces were filled with shock. There were about 100 of these cultivators. The strongest was at the saint tier, while the weakest was at the heavenly god tier. They were protected by a circle of saint light in the middle. A young girl in white stood at the periphery. She was smart and beautiful, and her whole body was surrounded by saint light. She looked like a Ruoxian. The aura of time principles intertwined around Yang Kai's body as the flow of time around him alternated between stillness and turbulence. Moreover, in addition to the aura of time principles, there were also fluctuations of order surrounding him, far more terrifying than time principles. Even the sky trembled from time to time, and any Saint King grade Een soldier who approached him would be instantly swallowed up by time principles and order. Lin Tian brought the white tiger and little Taichu to this place. When he saw the white-clothed girl in front of him, he was immediately moved. "It's really my little niece." The white tiger glared at him. "Yeah." Little Taichu was also surprised. The white-clothed girl's body was surrounded by the aura of the laws of time and order. Her face was stunningly beautiful. Wasn't this Ruoxian Lin? Ruoxian Lin? Lin Tian immediately moved. He took a step toward the call and activated the 5 heaven-shaking thunders incantation and the pure yang flame to the extreme. Immediately, the surroundings shook violently. In the blink of an eye, a large number of Een soldiers were shattered, all of them turning into black Een chi and pus. Reincarnation body. In the call, more than 100 cultivators who were protected by the holy light saw Lin Tian appear and were all shocked. At the same time, Ruoxian Lin, who was dressed in white, was shocked. Then, she was instantly pleasantly surprised. "Daddy!" Ruoxian Lin was overjoyed. Because she accidentally appeared in this place, she was besieged by a group of powerful Een soldiers. She didn't expect to see her father here. "What? Our benefactor is the daughter of the reincarnation body?" In the call, the cultivators who were protected by the holy light were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out. The beautiful girl who was protecting them in this place, and at the same time controlled the legendary laws of time and order, actually called Lin Tian Daddy. She was actually Lin Tian's daughter. Lin Tian stepped forward and shattered a large number of Een soldiers. In an instant, he appeared beside Ruoxian Lin. The 5 heaven-shaking thunders incantation was mighty. A large number of black thunderbolts fell, turning the area into a sea of black thunder. The Een soldiers around them couldn't get close for a while. "Daddy!" Ruoxian Lin was overjoyed. She immediately clung to Lin Tian. She was naturally very happy to see her biological father after so many years. Then, she greeted the white tiger and the little Taichu. She was very polite as usual, and her voice was very sweet. "Uncle Tiger, Uncle Taichu, little niece, you've become more beautiful. You're almost as beautiful as your mother." White Tiger smiled. Ruoxian Lin said with a smile, "I can't compare with my mother." "Yeah." Little Taichu flew over, stretched out its little paw, and touched Ruoxian Lin's head, looking like an elder. Lin Tian looked at the little guy's action and couldn't help but want to laugh. At the same time, he was naturally very happy to see Ruoxian Lin again after so many years. After all, she was his flesh and blood. "Why are you here?" he asked Ruoxian Lin. Ruoxian Lin had been staying with Wu Yi and cultivating on the ethereal mountain. Now, she suddenly appeared in this underground space of the void realm, which really made him very curious. Hearing his question, the white tiger and the little Taichu also looked at Ruoxian Lin. "Well, I went to that super ancient tomb with my mother. There was an accident there. The space was broken, and I was sucked in. Then I came to this place," Ruoxian Lin said. Lin Tian was moved when he heard this. He naturally knew that the super ancient tomb Ruoxian Lin mentioned was the ancient tomb that was found in the immortal region. It was very shocking, and he didn't know what kind of existence left it behind. However, at this time, he was more concerned about the other things Ruoxian Lin mentioned. "What about your mother and the others? Are they also sucked in?" he asked. Ruoxian Lin was with Wu Yi and the others. After the space was broken, Ruoxian Lin appeared here, which meant that Wu Yi and the others were also sucked in. Otherwise, Wu Yi and the others who were not sucked in would definitely protect Ruoxian Lin. "Yes, my mother and the others are also sucked in." Ruoxian Lin nodded and said, "But, Father, don't worry. The broken space only has the power of space transfer, and there is no destructive aura. My mother and the others will be fine. Lin Tian heard this and relaxed for a moment. It was good that there was no danger. He could go and find them later. Then he really looked at Ruoxian Lin and found that Ruoxian Lin's cultivation was already in the quasi-saint realm. You control the order? And you have reached the quasi-saint realm? He was a little shocked. It should be known that only a few years had passed since he left the 10 Directions heavens. In a few years, he could reach the Saint King realm from the Divine Emperor realm because he entered the space left behind by the Human King. He had 10,000 more years to cultivate than others. However, Ruoxian Lin not only controlled the world's order, which was difficult to control, but also reached the quasi-saint realm from the Divine King realm in just a few years. This was really a little shocking. Even if Ruoxian Lin had inherited Wu Yi's peerless talent, and her cultivation aptitude was very heaven-defying. She could be said to be born for cultivation, but this kind of cultivation speed was still a little exaggerated. It made him, who had a tough state of mind, unable to believe it. Chapter 2077. In just a few years, she had gone from controlling order to controlling order and from the Divine King realm to the quasi-saint realm. This kind of achievement was really too heaven-defying. Even though he knew that Ruoxian's aptitude was monstrous, and even though he knew that Ruoxian had comprehended the power of order for nearly 1,000 years before that, Lin Tian still found it hard to believe. The White Tiger and Little Taichu were the same. Yes, this is all thanks to that ancient tomb. Ruoxian nodded, looking a little surprised. She said to Lin Tiandao, "Father, you don't know. We found a different space in that ancient tomb. The flow of time inside is completely different from the outside world. Even the fluctuations of space are very strange. Even Mother was moved at that time. She said, we entered that alternate space and cultivated there for more than 2,000 years until the space collapsed. However, only 3 days have passed in the real world outside." Lin Tian was moved when he heard that. It turned out that Ruoxian and the others had obtained an additional 2,000 years of cultivation time. Therefore, Ruoxian was able to control order, and at the same time, her cultivation had reached the quasi-saint realm from the Divine King realm back then. Then, he thought of another matter. From the sound of it, why was the alternate space that Ruoxian had mentioned so similar to the space-time space that they had entered because of the Human King? The White Tiger and Little Taichu were also moved. They understood the main reason why Ruoxian was able to control order and reach the quasi-saint realm from the Divine King realm in just a few years. Moreover, they also thought of the same problem as Lin Tianyi. It's completely similar to the space-time we entered. The White Tiger widened his eyes. Ruoxian blinked when she heard that. She looked at Lin Tian and asked, "Father, all of you have entered a similar space?" "Yes." Lin Tian nodded and briefly explained how they had entered the space-time formed by the Human King and obtained an additional 10,000 years of time. Time and space? Human King? Ruoxian's eyes widened. That super ancient tomb, could it be related to the Human King? The Human King is dead? Naturally, she had heard of sovereign personages before. They were existences that caused the myriad realms to tremble at the mention of them. True legends. Don't mess around. How could that person die? Even if the great heaven and earth were to shatter, he would probably still be alive and well. The old Taoist pursed his lips and spoke in a soft voice. His gaze landed on Ruoxian Lin, and there was obvious shock in his eyes. He muttered, "Immeasurable heavenly lord, what is going on in this universe? Forget about the Human King. Why are there so many monsters behind her? Such a young girl actually controls time and order at the same time, and she even has a reincarnation body. This old man is really..." His voice was very soft, as if he was talking to himself, so Lin Tian and the others did not hear him at all. It is impossible for the Human King to have died. If such an existence had truly died, the entire world would probably shake violently. Lin Tian shook his head and said, "However, that super ancient tomb is very likely related to that person." Roar! Violent roars rang out, and unknowingly, Morin's soldiers surrounded them from the outside. They were all comparable to Saint Kings. Because there were too many of them, Even if Lin Tian supported the sea of lightning formed by the 5 heaven-shaking thunders incantation, it was useless. These things are so annoying. There are too many of them. It's like locusts passing through. I can't kill them all no matter how hard I try. Ruoxian Lin grumbled. She was now at the level of a quasi-saint and could control time and order, so she could kill a Sage King-level powerhouse. However, there were just too many Sage King-level spectral soldiers. In addition, she had to divert some of her energy to protect the other 100 cultivators. Therefore, it was already a little difficult for her to deal with these Sage King-level spectral soldiers. Her saint energy was almost exhausted. Lin Tiandao said, "It's okay." He pulled Ruoxian Lin Tiandao, the white tiger, and the little Taichu to the side of the old Taoist. He smiled and said, "Senior, you know how to use that thing to make these Een soldiers unable to sense our presence." There were indeed a lot of Een soldiers here. There were hundreds of thousands of them. If they really wanted to kill them one by one, it would be impossible to kill them all. In the end, they would be devoured by these inconspicuous Een soldiers because their saint power had been exhausted. Heavenly Venerable Wuliang, don't laugh. You look like a little devil when you laugh, the kind with horns on your head. Ever since the old Taoist found out that Lin Tian wanted his oracle bone fragment, he felt that Lin Tian was not a good person and was shameless. However, even so, he still activated the oracle bone fragment immediately to protect Lin Tian, Ruoxian Lin Tiandao, and the others. In an instant, the Een soldiers in this place completely lost the ability to sense Lin Tianyi and the others' presence and presence. They all rushed towards the other cultivators who were protected by the Saint Light. The impact caused the Saint Light barrier that Ruoxian Lin Tiandao set up to shake and tremble. Gradually, cracks began to appear and spread like a spider web. It seemed like it was going to shatter soon. In an instant, the cultivators trembled violently. They were frightened by the countless Een soldiers who kept hitting the Saint Light barrier. "Father, let's help them too," Ruoxian Lin Tiandao said to Lin Tiandao. Lin Tiandao nodded and looked at the old Taoist. "Senior, protect them too. Bring them to a safe place." Ruoxian Lin Tiandao accidentally came to such an unfamiliar place. Although she did not know these cultivators, she still helped them to resist the terrifying Een soldiers. He was very glad that his daughter had a kind heart. The old Taoist pursed his lips, but he didn't refuse. He activated the bone plate to emit even more light, protecting the 100 over cultivators. Then, he left the area and landed on a mountain where there were no Een soldiers. "Thank you. Thank you." The cultivators all thanked Ruoxian Lin. At the beginning, if it was not for Ruoxian Lin Tiandao's help, they would have all died. Just now, it was because Ruoxian Lin helped them that Lin Tian asked the old Taoist to take them away. They knew very well that it was all because of Ruoxian Lin that they were able to survive. Ruoxian Lin waved her hand. She was beautiful and lively, and at the same time, she appeared natural and graceful. "It's okay. You're welcome. It's very dangerous here. It's better for you to leave as soon as possible," Lin Tiandao said to the cultivators. Now, because of the undead spirit that was comparable to a void sky rank existence, this space was densely packed with Sage King-level Een soldiers. For ordinary cultivators, this place was almost like purgatory. "Yes, yes, yes," the cultivators all responded. Then, as Lin Tiandao said, they all began to evacuate from this space. Because Lin Tiandao was right. For cultivators like them, the strongest was only a sage. This underground space was too dangerous. If they were not careful, they could be swallowed by countless Een soldiers. Soon the cultivators all left. Only Lin Tiandao, Ruoxian Lin Tiandao, the white tiger, little Taichu, and the old Taoist were left. Are we still going deeper? Chapter 2078. Hearing the white tiger's question, Lin Tian thought for a moment and said, "Let's go." The current underground space was extremely dangerous. However, with the strength of their group, there was no need to be too worried. Moreover, the so-called divine phoenix Tao fruit that appeared in this underground space was indeed very tempting. Therefore, he wanted to continue going deeper and try to see if he could obtain that thing. Immediately, he led the Ruoxian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu to the side and continued to go deeper into the underground space. At the same time, the old Taoist also followed. Roar! Fierce howls and ghostly cries echoed in this underground space. Because of the void sky rank undead spirit in the depths, the majestic Inchi contained in this space condensed into 2 mini Saint King level ghost soldiers, and they could be seen in almost every corner. Go! Go! Retreat! Ah! There were many cultivators who entered this underground space, hundreds of thousands of them, but there were very few true powerhouses. Now, with the appearance of so many Saint King level ghost soldiers, many cultivators panicked and were frightened. While resisting with difficulty, they retreated out of this underground space, and in the process there were naturally many ordinary cultivators who died. For a time, blood splashed in this space, and screams sounded from time to time in various places. Lin Tianyi and the others were followed by the old Taoist, protected by the light emitted by the oracle bone plate, and the process of going deeper could be said to be unimpeded. The Saint King level ghost soldiers formed by the Yin Shi did not seem to see them at all. Even when they walked past these ghost soldiers, not a single one of them attacked them. Soon after, they traveled extremely far, crossing over several dozen immortal mountains. Although these immortal mountains were in an environment with extremely dense Yin Shi, there were still plenty of ancient trees on them. In fact, they were even growing better than the plants in the outside world. The group continued to go deeper into the underground space, and in the blink of an eye, several more immortal mountains were left behind. It was also at this moment that with a loud bang, an astonishing Saint Chi fluctuation suddenly appeared in front of them. 2 young men were standing in a depression in front of them, their bodies exuding a majestic Saint King pressure. Although there were Saint King grade Yin soldiers constantly pouncing on them, none of them were able to pose any threat to these 2 young men. The 2 of them continued to wipe out the Saint King grade Yin soldiers that approached them while simultaneously flying out of the underground space. There was no fear in their eyes, but instead a light of excitement flashed across them. When Lin Tian and Ruoxian arrived, they naturally saw the 2 young men in front of them. Their eyes immediately narrowed. He was no stranger to these 2. One was the holy son of the Blue Hell sect, and the other was the young sect master of the Barren sect. They were both famous young sovereigns in the Void World. Previously, they had besieged him with other young sovereigns in an attempt to seize his origin. These 2 bastards. The White Tiger sneered. Naturally, he also recognized these 2 people. Previously, more than 2,000 young sovereigns took advantage of Lin Tianxia's death, and when the 10 divine children of the Celestial Court were severely injured to attack Lin Tian in an attempt to seize his reincarnation origin. The White Tiger remembered those 2,000 people. Among them, more than half were killed by Lin Tian's killing formation, and the other half survived because of the accident when the wilderness collapsed. These 2 people were 2 of those who survived. Dad, do you know them? Ruoxian asked Lin Tiandao curiously when she saw the expressions of Lin Tian and White Tiger. Of course we know them. These 2 wanted to seize your father's reincarnation origin, but they didn't succeed. Before Lin Tian could speak, the White Tiger said so. What? Ruoxian heard this and immediately glared. She said angrily, how dare they have designs on Dad's origin? Bastards. Then, before Lin Tian could do anything, she moved. In a flash, she crossed more than 1,000 feet and appeared not far from the holy son of the Qingyan sect and the young master of the Barren sect. Who is it? The holy son of the Qingyan sect and the young master of the Barren sect were old friends. When they saw Ruoxian rushing over with obvious hostility, their eyes narrowed. At the same time, the 2 of them were also shocked by Lin Ruoxian's appearance. She was too beautiful. 4 young supremes like them, who were famous in the heavenly realm, they had seen many gorgeous women in the past few years. However, none of them could compare to Lin Ruoxian. Ruoxian glared and directly attacked. The space in all directions shook, and the Holy King ghost soldiers around her were directly sent flying. Even Mom has never bullied Dad. How dare you? She was very angry that someone dared to seize her father's reincarnation origin. As soon as she finished speaking, the time in this space shook, and a vague, long river of time vaguely appeared. At the same time, waves of order interweaved in the long river of time, directly sealing and freezing this small world. The holy son of the Qingyan sect and the young master of the barren sect couldn't help but tremble. This girl, who was only at the quasi-saint level and was ridiculously beautiful, had actually activated the legendary law of time and the power of order at the same time. Then, the two of them were horrified. They quickly activated their saint techniques to face the long river of time that was mixed with order summoned by Ruoxian. However, in the next moment, the two of them were even more horrified. Under the fusion of the law of time and the power of order, the saint techniques that they activated with their cultivation at the peak of the Holy King level were completely vulnerable and were annihilated in the blink of an eye. Then, the long river of time that was mixed with order pressed down, crossing the sky and covering them in the blink of an eye, suppressing them at the same time. The two of them trembled. In just a moment, they couldn't move, and even the saint powers in their bodies were frozen. Swoosh! With a piercing sound, Ruoxian took a step forward and flashed in front of the two of them. She slapped the two of them to the ground and suppressed them with the long river of time that was mixed with the power of order. Her small feet directly stepped on the two of them without mercy. "I'll trample you to death," she said angrily, and kept stepping on the two young supreme masters. "Damn it, you stop!" The holy son of the Qingyan sect and the young master of the barren sect were both horrified and furious. Their cultivation was at the peak of the Holy King level, and they were famous young supreme masters in the heaven realm. But now, they were being trampled on by a girl who was only at the quasi-saint level and was obviously much younger than them. How embarrassing was this? At the same time, Lin Tianyi and the others behind them were all stunned. The white tiger was stunned and couldn't say a complete sentence for a moment. "Yeah!" The little Taichu's eyes widened. The two famous young supreme masters in the heaven realm, with the cultivation at the peak of the Holy King level, were instantly suppressed by Ruoxian, who was at the quasi-saint level. They didn't have the slightest room to resist. Even Lin Tian was moved. Although he knew that after Ruoxian controlled the power of order, she could kill ordinary Holy King level experts with the cultivation of a quasi-saint, he didn't expect that even the famous young supreme masters at the peak of the Holy King level would be so weak in the hands of Ruoxian. Chapter 2079. As a quasi-sage, she could easily suppress a young supreme being who was at the peak of the Sage King realm. This kind of strength was too shocking. "Monster!" The old Taoist felt a little dizzy. After thinking for a while, he still said the same two words, "Monster." "It's really," Lin Tian couldn't help but smile bitterly. His precious daughter was really becoming more and more like Wu Yi. It was too scary. At the same time, he was also happy. When he heard that the holy son of the Qingyan sect and the young master of the barren sect had tried to steal his origin, his heart felt warm. He felt that there was a saying that was true. Daughters were really their father's little jackets. Bang, bang, bang. Ruoxian had an angry expression on her face. She used the long river of time, mixed with the power of order, to suppress the holy son of the Qingyan sect and the young master of the barren sect. She felt that these two were really too much. They actually tried to steal her father's reincarnation origin. This was 1,000,000 times more hateful than chasing after her father for other reasons. Damn it, stop. The holy son of the Qingyan sect and the young master of the barren sect were continuously trampled. Their bodies were in pain, and their minds were in even more pain. The young supreme beings who were famous in the heaven realm were actually being trampled by a young girl. It was also at this time that Lin Tian stepped forward and walked over from afar. "I'll leave it to you, father." Seeing Lin Tian walking over, Ruoxian stopped. He no longer stepped on the two of them. However, the two of them were still imprisoned. The holy son of the Qingyan sect and the young master of the barren sect were imprisoned. At this time, when they saw Lin Tian approaching, they immediately turned pale with fright. "It's you!" The two looked at Lin Tian and then at Ruoxian. When they heard how Ruoxian addressed Lin Tian, the shock on their faces became stronger. "You actually?" The two of them were shocked. The young girl who easily suppressed them with a quasi-sage cultivation and controlled the legendary power of time and order was actually Lin Tian's daughter. It's really a small world. What a coincidence, right? Lin Tian looked at the two of them and smiled. The holy son of the Qing Yin sect and the barren sect's young sect leader's faces darkened. Reincarnation body, don't do anything rash. The great sects we belong to are very powerful, and there are Tongtian realm experts in charge. Previously, they had tried to seize Lin Tian's reincarnation source, but now they had been suppressed. Lin Tian was right in front of them, so they didn't need to think to know that Lin Tian wouldn't be kind to them. Their scalps turned cold. Threatening me? Lin Tian sneered. How long do you think your great sect can last under my master's hands? What's the point of showing off your great sects in front of me? The holy son of the Qingyin sect and the junior sect leader of the barren sect trembled, and their expressions darkened. Only then did they remember that Lin Tian had a terrifying master behind him, who even the celestial court feared. You! The two of them looked at each other and gritted their teeth. The holy son of the Qingyin sect said, "Let us go. Don't kill us, and we'll tell you a secret. It'll be very beneficial to you." The two of them were very clear that when they tried to seize Lin Tian's reincarnation source, Lin Tian definitely wanted to kill them now. With their strength, even if they weren't suppressed by Ruoxian, they would be killed by Lin Tian in the blink of an eye. After all, even a super young paragon like Shun Wuk was killed by Lin Tian. Their strength was countless times weaker than Shun Wuk's, and they were far from being able to stop Lin Tian. Now, they could only rely on the secret they had discovered together to save their lives. The secret they had discovered was extremely precious, but no matter how precious it wasn't as precious as their lives. Secret? It'll be very beneficial to me? Lin Tianwei was slightly moved. That's right. We found it in this underground space. With our abilities, it'll be difficult to dig it out in a short period of time. We were going to report it to our sects and ask them to send a group of experts to mine it together. The holy son of the Qingyin sect gritted his teeth and said, "As long as you let us go, we'll." Bang! Lin Tian lifted his leg, landing a foot on this person's chest, directly interrupting this person's words. Then, he activated his divine will and directly entered the man's mind to search for the big secret that he mentioned. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. He was completely moved. His eyes narrowed, and a bright light appeared. What's wrong? Did you find the secret they mentioned? What is it? Seeing his expression, the white tiger couldn't help but ask. Beside him, the little Taichu and Ruoxian also looked at him, and even the old Taoist priest did the same. I found it. It's a super Lingjing mine, Lin Tian said in a deep voice. The white tiger was slightly moved. How big is it? The divine Lingjing was similar to the Lingjing and the celestial Lingjing. It was also similar to the divine energy that was found in the Dafan divine land. It was formed by the condensation of thick divine qi and the divine precepts that drifted between heaven and earth. Not only did it have an astonishingly pure energy, but it also contained many fragments of divine precepts. If there were enough of it, it would be an extraordinary treasure even for a Saint King level expert. Not only could it be used to directly improve one's cultivation, but it could also be used to refine one's divine precepts and saint power. They'd obtained such treasures numerous times after entering the celestial world of nothingness, and they'd obtained quite a few of them. So, they could be considered to be quite familiar with it. However, Lin Tian was visibly moved when he mentioned the divine essence crystal mine at this moment, and dazzling bright light arose in his eyes. He'd even used the word super to describe the divine essence crystal mine. This naturally caused Lin Tian to pay great attention to it. Very big, Lin Tian said in a deep voice. Do you still remember the divine Lingjing mine that senior crocodile ancestor gave us? He said, now, the divine Lingjing mine that they found in this underground space has a conservative estimate of 100,000 times the capacity of the divine Lingjing mine that senior crocodile ancestor gave us. He searched the knowledge sea of the holy son of Qingyin sect and learned that the big secret was a divine Lingjing mine. At the same time, he also captured some images of the divine Lingjing mine in the Holy Sun's knowledge sea. It was really huge, and the capacity of the divine Lingjing mine inside shocked him. The capacity was too shocking. What? When the white tiger heard this, its eyes widened, and it couldn't help but tremble. Back then, the divine Lingjing mine that the crocodile ancestor gave them had a huge capacity, which allowed their cultivation to improve greatly. But now, Lin Tian actually said that the divine Lingjing mine that the holy son of Qingyin sect and the young master of the Baron sect found in this underground space was at least 100,000 times the capacity of the divine Lingjing mine that the crocodile ancestor gave them. What was this? Chapter 2080. Listening to Lin Tian's description of the capacity of the divine Lingjing mine, the white tiger was shocked. It was too shocking. Then, why didn't they dig it out themselves first? The white tiger asked Lin Tian. Didn't they say before that with their ability, it would be difficult to dig it out in a short period of time because there is a very powerful natural restriction there? Lin Tian Dao. He naturally knew about the powerful restriction in the divine Lingjing mine from the Qin Yama sect's holy son. Is it very difficult to break the natural restriction? The white tiger asked. It's difficult for them, but not for me. Lin Tian Dao. The white tiger was overjoyed when he heard that. That's good. Let's get rid of them and take that big mine. Lin Tian nodded. He had the same idea. He looked at the Qin Yama sect's holy son and the Baron sect's young sect master. The Qin Yama sect's holy son and the Baron sect's young sect master trembled. Fear filled their faces. You already know the big secret from us. The benefits are great. Let us go. Don't kill us. The two of them said anxiously. Lin Tian looked at the two of them and didn't say anything. A golden sword light appeared beside him and slashed at the two of them. Since the two of them had tried to seize his reincarnation origin, he naturally wouldn't show them any mercy. Under his golden sword light, the Qin Yama sect's holy son and the Baron sect's holy son were killed on the spot. Ruoxian snorted softly. As Lin Tian killed the two of them, she also put away the long river of time. Daddy, am I powerful? She asked Lin Tian Dao with a smile. Of course, Lin Tian said with a smile. You are indeed my precious daughter. His precious daughter was really a genius and a monster. She was only at the inferior Saint realm, but she could suppress young supremes at the peak of the Saint King realm. This made him happy and proud. He dotingly rubbed Ruoxian's little head, then called out to the group and headed towards the divine Lingjing mine. Roar! In this place, there weren't many Saint King Gradine soldiers, only a few hundred or so. Just now, they had all been repelled by Ruoxian's river of time. At this time, as Ruoxian dispersed the river of time, these Yin soldiers all rushed forward. With a wave of his hand, Lin Tian activated the 5 heaven-shaking thunders incantation. Black thunderbolts rolled out and crushed the Yin soldiers. After that, they headed towards the west of this place. After about 15 minutes, they arrived at a valley. Unexpectedly, there was no Yin Chi around this place, nor were there any Yin soldiers. The surroundings were incomparably lush with ancient trees. That big mine is in this valley? The white tiger asked. Yes. Lin Tian nodded. The location of the divine Lingjing mine that he found in the consciousness of the Qingyin sect's holy son was in the center of this valley. He led Ruoxian and the white tiger to the specific coordinates of the divine Lingjing mine that he obtained from the Qingyin sect's holy son's consciousness. Soon, they arrived at the center of the valley and found a huge mine in the center. The cave was about 20 feet high and 30 feet wide. Just by being here, the group felt an amazing fluctuation of divine spiritual qi, and their bodies became comfortable. With Lin Tian leading the way, the group entered the cave and soon came to the end of the cave. Looking ahead, the divine Lingjing mine was everywhere, emitting a gentle light. The vigorous divine spiritual qi filled every corner of the mine, and the air was constantly rippling. This is really... The white tiger's voice trembled. In front of them, there were so many divine Lingjing mine that it was frightening. Just as Lin Tian said, it was at least 100,000 times more than the divine Lingjing mine that the crocodile ancestor gave to them. We're rich. The white tiger was excited. With so many divine Lingjing mine, it was like a super holy treasure for them. It could imagine that with these divine Lingjing mine, their cultivation would improve greatly in a short period of time. Amazing! Ruoxian already knew what divine Lingjing mine was from Lin Tian. Seeing so many divine Lingjing mine here, she was shocked and couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes. The old Taoist priest also came to this place. Seeing these divine Lingjing mine, he wasn't as excited and shocked as Lin Tian and the others. He didn't seem to care much. Only a trace of light flashed in his eyes. Lin Tian took a deep breath. At this moment, he stepped forward. Strands of dragon patterns flowed out from the soles of his feet and spread forward. Soon, the air in front of him trembled slightly, and a transparent barrier appeared, blocking the dragon patterns. This is the natural restriction? The white tiger's expression changed. He used his divine sense to sense it and said, "It's very powerful. Ordinary peak holy kings definitely can't break it." However, it did not mind. After all, Lin Tian was here and possessed the dragon burial scripture. Thus, he should be able to break through the seals there. Furthermore, Lin Tian had mentioned this matter before. He had said that the seals there were not difficult for him to break through. Lin Tian stood at the front with a calm expression. Strands of dragon patterns surged out and continued to move toward the restriction in front of them. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. With a crack, the natural barrier in front of them immediately shattered and was destroyed. Suddenly, a thick divine spiritual chi surged out from the front. In the blink of an eye, it drowned Lin Tian and the others. The group couldn't help but tremble slightly. At this moment, all the pores on their bodies couldn't help but open up. A bright light flashed in Lin Tian's eyes. With a wave of his hand, he set up dozens of sealing formations in this place to prevent the thick divine spiritual chi here from leaking out. Then, he looked at the divine Lingjing mine in front of him again. "Use it to cultivate," he said. "Of course." The white tiger's face was full of excitement. His eyes shone. Hearing Lin Tian's words, he immediately rushed over. Then the little Taichu and Ruoxian also walked over. Now, the natural barrier here was broken by Lin Tian. There was no power that could stop them. The old Taoist priest curled his lips and walked to the side and sat down. He looked like he wasn't interested in the divine Lingjing mine in front of him. "You don't need it?" Lin Tian asked. The white tiger, little Taichu, and Ruoxian also looked over curiously. In the face of such a huge divine Lingjing mine, the old Taoist priest was actually so calm. He looked like he didn't care about it and walked to a big rock at the side and sat down. "No need." The old Taoist priest curled his lips. Lin Tian's eyes couldn't help but twitch. So many divine Lingjing mines were very useful to any cultivator below the holy venerate level. They could be directly refined to improve their cultivation. However, the old Taoist priest didn't care about so many divine Lingjing mines. This was enough to show that the old Taoist priest cultivation was definitely not lower than the holy venerate level. On the other hand, although holy venerate level cultivators didn't need these divine Lingjing mines, they should be moved by so many divine Lingjing mines. However, the old Taoist priest was completely calm and even looked at them with disdain. With this combination, he estimated that the old Taoist priest cultivation was at least above the sovereign level. Chapter 2081. Not bad, old man. Your cultivation is good enough. What level are you at? Lin Tian looked at the old Taoist priest and asked. The old Taoist priest looked at him from the corner of his eyes. "Beating you up is as easy as drinking water." Lin Tian's face almost darkened. "You can just say that you're very powerful. Why do you have to step on me? Then you can just stay here." He curled his lips and walked forward. He called out to the Ruoxian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu, and began to use the Lingjing here to cultivate. As for the old Taoist priest, he was not worried that he would harm them during their cultivation. That was impossible, because the old Taoist priest was definitely very powerful. If he really wanted to harm them, he would have done it long ago. Most importantly, he could see that although the old Taoist priest was a little shameless and heartless, he was definitely not an evil person. He activated the Sun Heart Sutra. Faint, golden divine light intertwined and directly absorbed the Ling Jing spiritual qi here to cultivate. Buzz! On the surface of his body, the golden divine light gradually became blazing. His essence, qi, and spirit also rose strand by strand. At the same time, the saint domain form from the world's seed appeared behind him. Using the vast amount of divine spirit crystals in this place, it began to rapidly grow. Within it, even more ancient trees began to appear, and even more celestial mountains and rivers gradually took shape. A true aura of life interweaved within, and as the saint domain grew, it gradually became denser. One of the main reasons he came to the celestial void realm was to make his sacred domain grow quickly in this world. Now, there were so many Ling Jing spiritual qi here. Naturally, he had to use them to cultivate his body and make the sacred domain in his body evolve and grow continuously. This sacred domain was not simple. In the future, he might be able to comprehend the power that surpassed order from here. Buzz! He focused and activated the Sun Heart Sutra, absorbing the Ling Jing spiritual qi here contained in the Ling Jing spiritual qi. While cultivating his body, he evolved the sacred domain, causing the growth of the sacred domain to gradually become faster. A primitive aura surrounded it. Not far away, the old Taoist priest sat on a large gray rock. When he saw this scene, his eyes could not help but move. A growing perfect world. He could not help but stare. This kid can even find this thing. Buzz! Up ahead, Lin Tian's saint domain was surrounded by light, and everything within it became more and more real and clear. Then, not far away, the little Taichu who was cultivating trembled slightly. The primordial immortal empire appeared from within its body and slowly approached Lin Tian's holy domain. With the light from Lin Tian's holy domain, it began to repair itself just like before. Another perfect world? The old Taoist couldn't help but stare. Then he frowned and muttered to himself, "No, the ancestral veins of the world are almost destroyed. It can barely be considered a half-perfect world. Although it is recovering through the growth of a perfect world, there is a limit to how much it can recover. It can't become a perfect world." He looked at the little Taichu and paused. Suddenly, a glimmer flashed across his eyes. "Oh, I just realized. So you were a descendant of that race. Is this the primordial immortal empire?" Then his gaze fell on Lin Tian again. Wisps of light appeared in his eyes as he looked at Lin Tian and the holy domain that emerged from Lin Tian's body. This kid is not simple. He narrowed his eyes. At this moment, his gaze became extremely deep, like two black holes that could devour everything. Lin Tian was sitting cross-legged on the ground, wholeheartedly cultivating. He could sense the outside world, but he could not hear the old Taoist mutterings. Buzz! The golden light on the surface of his body gradually became more intense. His essence, qi, and spirit became stronger, and his holy domain continued to grow. At the same time, the little Taichu's primordial immortal empire propped itself up. With Lin Tian's holy domain, it was slowly repairing itself. Ruoxian and the White Tiger were also cultivating quietly. Their essence, qi, and spirit were constantly becoming stronger. Just like this, 5 months passed in the blink of an eye. 5 months later, on this day, all the god crystals in this mine were used up. The golden divine light outside Lin Tian's body was blazing to the extreme, like a terrifying furnace. In the next moment, he opened his eyes, and 2 rays of light flashed before disappearing. Fifth Saint King layer. He muttered to himself. There were just too many divine Ling Jing in this place. Even though he was already in the Saint King domain and was absorbing the divine Ling Jing to form his holy domain, he still managed to reach the 5th Saint King layer in just 5 months. He was at the peak of the 5th Saint King layer and could reach the 6th Saint King layer at any time. At the same time, his holy domain had become even more shocking. There were many more mountains and rivers in it. There were also more plants. The chi of life that radiated from it was more than 100 times denser than 5 months ago. Good, he muttered to himself. He withdrew his holy domain into his body. A bright light flashed through his eyes. He could feel that he was much stronger than he was 5 months ago. They could not be compared to before. Then, he looked at Ruoxian, the white tiger, and little Taichu. He discovered that Ruoxian's cultivation had reached the 7th heaven of the Saint King layer from the 3rd heaven of the Saint King layer from the 3rd heaven of the Saint King layer, and little Taichu had reached the 3rd heaven of the Saint King layer from the 9th heaven of the Saint King layer. His essence, chi, and spirit had all improved qualitatively. Lord Tiger is also a Saint King layer. The white tiger could not help but laugh. Under normal circumstances, it would take at least 1,000 years of cultivation to reach the Saint King layer from the 3rd heaven of the Saint King layer with its talent. But now, it had reached it in just 5 months. This cultivation is really fast. Ruoxian blinked. Her aptitude was extremely heaven-defying. In terms of cultivation talent alone, even Lin Tian could not compare to her. However, under normal circumstances, she was not confident that she could reach the 7th heaven of the Saint King layer from the secondary Saint King layer in 5 months. No matter how good her cultivation talent was, it was impossible to achieve such a cultivation speed under normal circumstances. Consolidate your realm, Lin Tian said to her. After all, the cultivation realm that was achieved with the help of external objects was not as tenacious as the cultivation realm that was achieved step by step. It was necessary to spend a certain amount of time to consolidate the realm that one had reached. Otherwise, it would cause one's foundation to be unstable, which would be very bad for the future. Yes. Ruoxian was very obedient and understood this point. She immediately circulated the ancient scriptures that Wu Yi had passed down to her and began to refine her cultivation. With the 7th heaven of the Saint King Lingjing's cultivation here, she made her essence, chi, and spirit become more and more stable. At the same time, the white tiger and little Taichu did the same. They used their respective inherited ancient scriptures to stabilize their current cultivation. Just like that, another month passed in the blink of an eye. After spending a month, the group of people had finished consolidating their current cultivation realm. Their foundation was very tough. Chapter 2082. It had been half a year, so it was hard to say whether the divine phoenix Dao fruit in the depths of this space still existed. After all, the collapse of the Nirvana wasteland had caused a huge commotion. So many cultivators must have rushed over. Lin Tian thought for a moment and said, "Let's go and take a look." The old Taoist sat on a gray rock at the side, narrowing his eyes as he looked at Lin Tian, as if he was thinking about something. "Old man, why are you looking at me like that?" Lin Tian naturally noticed the old Taoist gaze. "It's just interesting. Kid, you're not simple." The old Taoist narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" Lin Tian asked him. The old Taoist chuckled and said, "Give this old Taoist a bit of reincarnation origin, and this old Taoist will reluctantly tell you. Get lost." Lin Tian glanced at the old Taoist and didn't say anything else. Then, the group left the mine and walked out. The old Taoist shrugged and then looked into the depths of the mine. There were groups of divine spirit realm cultivators there. "It's not here," he muttered to himself and followed Lin Tian and the others out. Not long after, Lin Tianyi and the others walked out of the mine and out of the valley. In the underground space, the aura of death was thicker than 6 months ago, and even the temperature of the air had dropped by dozens of degrees. Roar! A violent roar came from the depths, startling Lin Tian and the others. As far as the eye could see, there were 700,000 feet tall dead spirits in the depths, besieged by 8 figures. Rumbling sounds kept coming out, and the saint energy was astonishing. "This is..." Lin Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. "There are actually 6 more dead spirits, and those 8 people are all void sky rank existences." The white tiger was shocked. 6 months ago, an undead spirit had appeared in the depths of this underground space. It was extremely terrifying and had forced several sovereigns into a sorry state. It was comparable to a Void Heaven rank master. Now, after coming out of seclusion for 6 months, they discovered that there were 6 more Void Heaven rank undead spirits in that area. The sovereigns from before were nowhere to be seen. Instead, several Void Heaven rank powerhouses had entered this underground space and were currently killing the 7 undead spirits in the depths of that underground space. At the same time, the death energy and energy in this underground space became even thicker. Even more soldiers condensed, all of them extremely powerful. It has become a paradise for the dead, the White Tiger said. However, in addition to more soldiers, there were also more cultivators with true strength who had entered this underground space. There were many places where there were astonishing Saint King level soldiers intertwined. Although there were more Saint King level soldiers than 6 months ago, the situation was not as bad as it was 6 months ago. Now, almost all the cultivators in this space had the strength to resist. Lin Tian paused for a moment, then said, "Let's go directly to the depths." Although there were Void Heaven rank existences in the depths, they were still fighting with the 7 undead spirits. From this, it seemed that the Divine Phoenix Dao fruit was definitely still in this space. Although there were Void Heavenly Realm experts fighting in that area, he didn't care too much about it. As long as he didn't step into the range of those Void Heavenly Realm experts, he wouldn't be in any danger. He didn't believe those older generation experts would dare to take the initiative to attack him. After all, the old drunkard's display of power was very effective. The old Taoist also followed them. He used the Oracle Bone Plate to conceal his aura and figure, all the way to the depths. Soon, dozens of immortal mountains were left behind. Boom! At this moment, the void suddenly trembled, causing Lin Tian, Ruoxian, the White Tiger, and Little Taichu to be shocked. 3 figures stepped out from the shattered wasteland. All of them were enveloped in divine light, and their essence, qi, and spirit were incomparably powerful, transcending heaven-rank powerhouses. Lin Tian's pupils constricted slightly. The White Tiger, Little Taichu, and Ruoxian were also shocked. Is that Divine Phoenix Dao fruit that tempting? It actually attracted transcending heaven-rank powerhouses. The White Tiger was shocked. Next to him, a glint flashed across the old Taoist's eyes. Then he gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Immeasurable heavenly venerate." An old guy of this level really jumped out. This old Taoist hasn't found it yet. Troublesome. Troublesome. This time, Lin Tian heard his voice and was slightly moved. Huh, old man, what are you looking for? He could feel that the thing that the old Taoist mentioned that he had not found should not be the Divine Phoenix Dao fruit. Moreover, the 3 transcending heaven-rank powerhouses that suddenly entered this space seemed to have come for the thing that the old Taoist was looking for. This caused him to be slightly surprised. In this space, besides the treasure of the Divine Phoenix Dao fruit, there were actually other, even more shocking things that existed. It actually attracted several transcending heaven-rank powerhouses to step into this space. Beside him, the Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu also felt that something was wrong. They could not help but turn to look at the old Taoist. The old Taoist paused and said 3 words, "Ancestral Dragon Vein." When Lin Tian heard this, his pupils immediately constricted. You mean that the ancestral dragon vein of the heaven realm is within the range of this underground space? Beside him, the Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu were also shocked. The old Taoist nodded. Previously, after the wasteland here shattered, the aura of the ancestral dragon vein spread out. The ancestral dragon vein of the heaven realm should be within the range of this underground space. As he spoke, he continued, "If I'm not wrong, the super god Lingjing mind that you refined earlier was formed because of the influence of the ancestral dragon vein. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, there shouldn't be such a huge god Lingjing mind. And the reason why the death aura in this underground space is so dense, but the plants inside haven't withered, is also because of the influence of the ancestral dragon vein. When Lin Tian heard this, he was even more shocked. The ancestral dragon vein was the core of a great world. In a great world like the heaven realm of nothingness, the ancestral dragon vein was definitely incomparably shocking. The dragon chi contained in it was simply unimaginable how terrifying it was. Even if the saint power, essence, and life force of tens of millions of ordinary sky-level powerhouses were combined, it was far from comparable. Once the ancestral dragon vein of such a great world was discovered and entered to cultivate, one day's effort was equivalent to 10,000 years of hard work. Even so, the core dragon chi in the ancestral dragon vein of such a great world was even more extraordinary. Even for a sky-level existence, it was also a furnace of great medicine. As long as one could obtain a trace of it, it would have extraordinary magical effects. He didn't expect that the ancestral dragon vein of this heaven realm of nothingness would be within the range of this underground space. The white tiger was shocked, and then its eyes lit up. "Kid, aren't you very good at the momentum of heaven and earth? This is an opportunity. If we can find the ancestral dragon vein, we may be able to reach the Dominator realm in a very short time." When Lin Tian heard this, he glanced at it. "Don't think it's so simple. How can it be so easy to find the ancestral dragon vein of such a great world? With my current level of cultivation, it's impossible to find it in this space. Even if you're in existence at the transcending heaven level, it would be extremely difficult to find it in such a large fixed area. Every great world had an ancestral dragon vein. The larger the world, the more astonishing the ancestral dragon vein was, and the more difficult it was to find." Chapter 2083. Not bad, kid. You're quite self-aware. The old Taoist clicked his tongue when he heard Lin Tian's words. After entering this underground space, even if Lin Tian and the others were in closed-door cultivation for a few months, he'd utilize special methods to search carefully, and he'd especially search the vicinity of the Divine Essence crystal mine. Unfortunately, he hadn't gained anything. His cultivation was much higher than Lin Tian's, and he had spent so much effort and time, but still couldn't find any trace of it. Even if Lin Tian had mastered a very special technique and was good at the power of heaven and earth, it would be extremely difficult to find it. Lin Tian cast a sideways glance at the old man and ignored him. He looked into the depths of this space and paused for a moment, then called the Ruoxian and the white tiger to continue toward that location. "Kid, really, in front of our friendship, can you give this old Taoist a bit of reincarnation origin?" The old Taoist pulled Lin Tian and rubbed his hands together. "Sure." Lin Tian was very direct. "In front of our deep friendship, give me the oracle bone fragment on your neck, and I'll bear the pain and cut off my origin." The old Taoist glared at him. "Scram! You little shameless brat." He looked angry and turned to leave. "This old Taoist is leaving. You guys go play by yourselves." He was very fast, heading toward other locations in this underground space. In the blink of an eye, he had traveled far away. Lin Tian couldn't help but laugh. He guessed that this old guy must have gone to other places to look for clues of the ancestral dragon vein. "Let's go." He called the Ruoxian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu to continue toward the depths of this space. Compared to the clues of the ancestral dragon vein, the divine phoenix Dao fruit was undoubtedly easier to find now. Roar! Because the old Taoist had left, they no longer had the oracle bone plate to hide their aura and figure. In this underground space, some of the Saint King level Een soldiers in the vicinity immediately sensed their presence and immediately pounced on them. Lin Tian casually flicked his finger, and a large amount of golden divine light flew out. Every ray of golden divine light was an extremely powerful killing sword. For a moment, the sound of piu 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 could be heard continuously. The group of Een soldiers that charged forward were directly cut into pieces. Now, he could reach the sixth heavenly layer of Saint Ruler at any time. His battle prowess was countless times more powerful than 6 months ago. If he encountered a supreme young sovereign like Shenwuk again, he was even confident that he could suppress them with a single wave of his hand. Under these circumstances, the Een soldiers were extremely weak compared to him 6 months ago. Grandpa, who also wants to test the battle prowess of a Saint King. The white tiger was a little excited. Now that it had reached the level of a Saint King, it was very happy. It immediately attacked the other Saint King level soldiers nearby to test its current strength. Boom! Demonic light surged. In the blink of an eye, a large number of Saint King level soldiers were crushed. They were directly reduced to ashes or black pus. Ordinary cultivators below the 6th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler will definitely not be able to stop Grandpa, who... It chuckled. After that, the little Taichu also tested its current strength. With a wave of its little claws, the sky was filled with 6-colored divine flames. In an instant, a large number of Saint King level soldiers were burned to ashes. There were not many people below the level of Saint Ruler who could withstand such power. Ruoxian did not test it. When she controlled time and order, she could easily suppress young Saint Kings when she was a secondary saint. Now that she had reached the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler, she could probably kill ordinary early-stage Saint Venerables without too much effort. Let's go. Lin Tian spoke again. The group headed into the depths of the underground space again. They crossed over many mountains. From time to time, extremely powerful Saint King level soldiers would charge at them. However, they were no threat to them at all. With Lin Tian's people attacking, the soldiers that charged at them were all easily killed. After about half a month, they finally stepped into the depths of the underground space. The so-called depths of this space did not refer to the end of this space. This underground space was vast and boundless, and they could not see the border at all. It was just that compared to the place where they first entered, this was considered the depths. Boom! 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 An astonishing amount of death chi and surging holy light swept through the area. 8 Void Heaven rank experts were besieging 7 powerful undead spirits. The battle was extremely intense. Immortal mountains were shattered one after another, and the void was collapsing one by one. Let's retreat. It's too scary. The white tiger shrunk its neck and said to Lin Tiandao. Lin Tian nodded. The battle between Void Sky rank powerhouses was too terrifying. Now, as they entered this area, just the aftermath of the battle of that level made them very uncomfortable. Chills ran down their backs. At that moment, they quickly left this area. In this area, on the battlefield not far away, the 8 Void Sky rank powerhouses were killing 7 undead spirits. Naturally, they saw Lin Tian's group. At this time, their eyes could not help but fall on Lin Tian. Their eyes flashed with greed. However, it didn't take long for the greed and brilliance to fade away and vanish into nothingness. They all knew that Lin Tian was a reincarnation body and yearned for the reincarnation source. However, they did not dare to make a move now. An old drunkard had said that if the older generation dared to make a move on Lin Tian, he would mercilessly attack. Although they had not seen an old drunkard's strength with their own eyes, they could feel how terrifying he was just by looking at the divine sense engraving of mysterious yellow. It was really too frightening. They even felt that an old drunkard had surpassed the connecting heaven realm. In the face of such a terrifying existence, even the 108 heavenly masters of the celestial court could only remain silent. They could only send their younger generation disciples to deal with Lin Tian. How could they, the older generation, dare to be impudent? You're also here for the divine phoenix Dao fruit? We've been searching here for several months, but there's no trace of you. How could it be so easy to find you? Let's kill these 7 undead first. They must have condensed void sky, grade blood cores in their bodies. They'll be very useful to us. The 8 void sky grade experts seem to know each other. At this time, they glanced at Lin Tian and the others before continuing to attack the 7 void sky grade evil corpses, using all kinds of great techniques. Lin Tian, Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu were together. At this time, they naturally could not hear the 8 void sky grade experts' voices. Soon, they were far away from the fierce battle between the 8 void sky grade experts and the 7 evil corpses. This underground space is truly bustling right now. Sovereigns, void sky, and heaven-connecting realms. All of them are here. White Tiger sighed. Some are here for the divine phoenix Tao fruit. Some are here for the ancestral dragon vein. There will probably be more experts coming later. Lin Tiandao shook his head. After saying that, he shook his head and called out to Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu to go deeper into the area. Soon after, they walked quite a distance, continuously passing over 6 comparatively smaller immortal mountains. It was also at this time that Lin Tian stopped and his expression changed slightly. He looked at an even shorter immortal mountain in front of him with shock in his eyes. Chapter 2084. Lin Tian was moved, and so was Ruoxian. They had actually sensed Su Shu's aura when they arrived at this place. Lil Miss was also swept into this space like me? Ruoxian was surprised. Lin Tian looked deeper into the space. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and increased his speed. Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu followed him at once. Soon, the group had crossed several 100,000 feet. In front of them, broken celestial mountains were connected to each other. Judging from the traces, they had existed for countless years and had once collapsed. "It's here," Ruoxian said. A bright light flashed in Lin Tian's eyes. He could sense that Su Shu's aura was in this area, and it was very dense. However, even when he spread out his divine sense, he was unable to find any trace of Su Shu. However, although he couldn't find her with his divine sense and vision, the familiar aura allowed him to gradually pinpoint her location. He was in this place, and he instinctively sensed that aura and slowly walked in this area. Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu followed behind him. Soon, the group arrived at a small mountain in this area. It was completely in ruins. Many broken pieces of wood fell on the ground, and there were also some dried tree stumps on the ground. The plants here had been destroyed countless years ago, and there was no life essence left. Even the most heaven-defying person couldn't revive them because those plants had been completely destroyed. Just like the destruction of a cultivator's body and soul, it was impossible to restore them. Lin Tian stopped here. In this place, he felt Su Shu's aura was the strongest. He raised his hand and reached forward. The space suddenly rippled like water, and a colorless barrier appeared. "This is a natural boundary?" White Tiger was moved. Lin Tian stared ahead and activated the dragon burial scripture. The divine eye of delusion also opened to search for the colorless barrier. "Not entirely," he said. "Most of it is the power of nature, and some of it is man-made." He controlled the dragon burial scripture, so he could naturally sense the attributes of this barrier. At the same time, the light in his eyes became even stronger. From what he could sense, Su Shu's aura was coming from inside. This made him frown and worry. Su Shu's aura was coming from inside. Could it be that she had fallen behind the barrier after being sucked in by the spatial crack that Ruoxian had mentioned? He didn't know what the environment inside was like, and he didn't know if there was any danger, so he was a little anxious. "All of you back off a little," he spoke in a deep voice, after which he circulated the dragon burial scripture to its limit. Dense dragon tattoos spread and extended towards the colorless barrier in front of him. Soon, they completely surrounded the colorless barrier and began to swiftly break down the barrier's energy. His cultivation was now stronger, and this barrier had existed for too long, so its energy had weakened a lot. Under such circumstances, he circulated the dragon burial scripture to its limit, and soon, cracks appeared on the 5-colored barrier in front of him. Then, after another 15 minutes, a crisp crack was heard, and the colorless barrier in front of him shattered. Immediately, a wave of scorching hot saint energy surged out. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding space was surrounded by a red flame. The monstrous heat was vast and mighty, seemingly about to melt everything. It forced Lin Tian's group to retreat at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, they had retreated dozens of feet away, after which they once again looked behind the shattered colorless barrier. That is, looking ahead, the group's expression changed. Behind the colorless barrier, a faint red boundary was laid out horizontally. It was circular in shape, and its diameter was about 30 feet. Inside, raging fire was raging, forming a huge fire phoenix. It seemed to be alive, and it was surrounding a woman in a blue dress. The woman in the blue dress had a beautiful face. Her eyes were slightly closed, and she was surrounded by the fire phoenix. Her essence, energy, and spirit were rapidly rising. Sushu, Lil Miss, Lin Tian and Ruoxian called out at the same time, their faces full of shock. Beside them, the white tiger and little Taichu's expressions also changed. This was because the woman in the blue dress who was surrounded by the fire phoenix was Sushu. Buzz! Within the faint red boundary, blazing flames burned, and the temperature was terrifying. It was even more terrifying than Lin Tian's pure yang flames and little Taichu's 6-color divine flames. Together with the fire phoenix formed by the flames, it surrounded Sushu at the same time, but it did not hurt Sushu at all. Moreover, Sushu's body was glowing, and the terrifying flames were surging into her body. It was also at this moment that Sushu, who was surrounded by blazing flames, seemed to have sensed something. Her eyelids twitched, and she slowly opened her eyes. Her eyes were a little blank, but they were pure and fiery red, and there were endless flames dancing in them. Lin, her eyes were blank, and when she saw Lin Tian, she moved her lips and only spat out one word, as if she was sleep-talking. Then, as if she was instantly shrouded by endless sleepiness, her eyelids trembled, and she closed them again. Following that, the flames around her became even more intense, crazily surging into her body. At the same time, the fire phoenix surrounding her body let out a crisp phoenix cry, and also began to enter her body. Her essence, energy, and spirit soared at an even faster speed, and her cultivation reached the peak of the quasi-saint realm from the emperor god level in the blink of an eye. For a moment, the expressions of Lin Tianyi and the others changed greatly again. Nirvana of the divine phoenix, rebirth from the flames. The white tiger was almost petrified. She is the reincarnation of the divine phoenix from back then. The terrifying flames within the pale red boundary were mixed with extremely scorching saint energy, and even condensed into a fire phoenix. There was no doubt that this was the so-called Nirvana Tao fruit of the divine phoenix from back then. And now, this Tao fruit was rapidly surging into Sushu's body. It did not hurt Sushu at all, and it was completely compatible with her, causing her to bathe in endless flames, and her cultivation to soar rapidly. In this way, there was no need to think about this at all. Sushu was the reincarnation of the divine phoenix that had fallen here back then. She had been drawn here by the Tao fruit of the divine phoenix, and had begun her final nirvana rebirth. Lil Miss, she is actually... The Ruoxian was almost dumbfounded. Yeah. The little Taichu's eyes widened. Lin Tian's face was also filled with shock, and he looked at this scene in disbelief. His Sushu was actually the reincarnation of the divine phoenix. Within the pale red boundary, the raging flames of the divine phoenix danced. As the fire phoenix condensed from the essence flames of the divine phoenix, it continuously surged into Sushu's body, causing Sushu's essence, energy, and spirit to continuously soar. At the same time, at the bottom of the pale red boundary, below the soil layer, wisps of pure light surged up and merged into the terrifying flames of the divine phoenix. They merged into the fire phoenix, causing both the flames of the divine phoenix and the fire phoenix to become even more extraordinary. After merging into Sushu's body, it caused Sushu's essence, energy, and spirit to soar even faster. Pure dragon chi. Lin Tian was immediately moved, and his expression changed again. The dragon burial scripture was once again activated to its peak, and the divine eye of delusion breaker looked at the ground. Endless dragon patterns quickly spread out, interweaving into the depths of the soil layer at an extremely fast speed. Then, after a dozen breaths, the dragon patterns that were spreading toward the ground vibrated, and they were blocked by an invisible aura. At the same time, his body shook violently. As the dragon patterns were blocked, he vaguely heard an earth-shaking dragon roar from underground, You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.